opportunities and to engage in dialogue on the transformative potential of insurance. I hope that at the end of this event, some of the myths regarding insurance will be debunked and we will leave here with a wealth of knowledge and transformative policies that we will be enforcing and making sure that we practice in our day-to-day life, especially in Nigeria, where many people are quick to say, God is my insurance, at the cost of doing the right thing. I hope that at the end of today, we will be leaving here with a better reception for insurance, and we will actually get a lot of takeaways at the end of today's event. My name is Elizabeth Musa, and I'm delighted to be your MC for this event. Through the course of the event, I will be guiding you through, and I hope that you will give me your undivided attention and give us your cooperation through the course of this event. Without any further ado, I will be making welcome the editor of Business Day, Mr. Tayo Fagbole, as he comes to give us the welcome address. So please, with a big round of applause, let's welcome him.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Good morning, all. And I'll also like to add my own thanks to all of you who are here on time. We want to respect your time and make sure we begin so that we can go about our day's business. I'm glad to welcome, ladies and gentlemen, our esteemed guests, our speakers, who will be sharing their knowledge with us. Insurance in Nigeria is punching below its weight. We all know that. Penetration, people who resort to prayers rather than buying insurance, and of course the multiplier effect it has on the economy. We're not there yet, but there have been strides. We've made a lot of strides. But the whole idea of the conference is just to make sure we focus on those opportunities and begin to unlock that opportunity that the insurance sector offers. I'm not going to waste your time because there are more qualified people. There are more people who operate in the industry, who understand the industry, who know the ins and outs, who will be speaking this morning and throughout this afternoon. But I'll just bring up a few points that as we gather here, the theme is about growth in the insurance sector and then its role to infrastructure. It's important. It's very important. I've been in other gatherings where they've talked about, look, we want to come up with infrastructure projects, but our fear is always, how do we de-risk it? How do we de-risk it? It's very important. It's very, very important. For about how many days now, some of the biggest infrastructure that we have in Nigeria, telecoms, took a hit with the cable. I'm sure you've all had that outage with internet. How do you insure against those kind of things? They're real. We want to build roads, we want to go on very huge projects, but people who want to put their money down are saying, look, how do you de-risk it? How do I put my money in this if I don't have insurance? So it's very important. Insurance, the role of insurance is very important. But much more for me, and I think as an editor of business, is also the role at which insurance acts as a pool for long-term funds. Because access to long-term funds also helps to de-risk investments. Because then you have people with that patience to go see through the ups and downs of instability, which you always know an economy will go through. But it's insurance that has that access. Is that the parking lot, you could say, or the dam for patient capital. So we don't have enough of it yet. So those infrastructure projects that we want to take on, it's the insurance companies that can take them on because they have that long-term capital to even fund them, apart from just insuring them. Nigeria is an oil-producing country, gas even more, but how much of those businesses also are insured by Nigeria? Nigerian insurance companies, how many insurance companies can take them on? So the depth of the market isn't there, penetration of the market isn't there, but the fact that we have sponsors, Unitrust and NSIA, shows this, well, it's testament that of the opportunities in that market and to be taken, that we can take advantage of. So today, as we gather, I will say, please, as they say in Yoruba, peel your ears from your pockets, pay very close attention, and I'm sure we will learn a lot and go away much better, more informed, and better able to take decisions about insurance in the country. So I will not delay you, and I will ask you to have happy deliberations and all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Once again, please, a round of applause for the editor of Business Day, Mr. Tayo Fagbule. I'll now be making welcome for the keynote address Mr. Olusegun Omoseyin, the chairman, Nigerian Insurance Association, represented ably by someone else because he's unavoidably absent today, is represented by Mr. Rotimi Ogunleye, is the ED Technical Old Mutual Insurance, and he's representing the keynote speaker. Please let's make him feel welcome as he comes up stage.
I just told her that if you don't make me feel welcome, I will not speak. So anyway, good morning, colleagues. It's good to be here, and I'm standing on this platform representing the chairman of the Nigerian Insurance Association, person of Mr. Olusegun Ayo. Almost saying, unfortunately, he is currently under the weather in the last 1 week, so he has sent me to represent him. My task is very simple, and I'll just deliver what he has asked me to do, his speech. If I do well, please just give me the credit. Otherwise, I'll let him know that he didn't perform well, right? So, protocols in the house. Well, at least I can see the chief editor, my senior colleagues, and other players in the industry. You are all welcome. He has asked me to thank the organizers of this program, Business Day, and also people who have found time to attend this occasion. I'll just go straight to his address. I consider it a rare honor to address this prestigious Ensuring Prosperity Conference 2024. The theme of the event is insurance as a key driver for economic growth in Nigeria, in Nigeria's economic, infrastructural, and national development. And I'll be speaking on direct and indirect contributions of the insurance sector to the Nigerian economic growth. I would like to divide my presentation into four main parts. The first, I'll share insight on Nigeria's insurance industry performance. Second, I will address the direct and indirect contributions of the insurance sector to Nigeria's economic growth. Third, I'll be speaking about some of the challenges and growth opportunities in the Nigerian market. And finally, I'll just make some recommendations. But before then, let me quickly give a brief overview of the Nigerian economy and the contributions of the finance and insurance sector. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, the nation's real GDP stood at 17.72 trillion as of Q2 2023. The contribution of the finance and insurance to real GDP totaled 5.26%, higher than the contributions of 4.25 recorded in the second quarter of 2022 by 1.01%. The lower than 5.35 recorded in Q1 2023 by 0.08 percent points. Insurance accounted for 9.22 of that finance sector. Growth in this sector is, in real terms, totaled 26.84%, which is higher by 8.37 points from the rate recorded in Q2 of 2022, and higher by 5.47 percent points from the rate recorded in the preceding quarters. Why are we giving all these stats? Is because today we are discussing insurance as it relates to, the economy and infrastructure. There are several sectors of the economy that could be optimized for sustainable growth and development. But today, my focus, for obvious reasons, will be on the role of insurance, a dependable friend in uncertain times. And the topic is talking about this topic at this time is just very, very important. We all know what we are going through now, so it's very, very hard. And I'm hoping that by the time we get to the panel sessions, we'll be able to drill all these things down. Insurance, as we all know, is the bedrock of the economy, and it has a huge impact on how businesses evolve. The main purpose of insurance, aside its common function of giving rest of mind, is to enhance national development through effective protection against financial losses, provision of capital, promotions of economic growth, and also preservation of the economy. You can call it the 4 Ps, which I will also discuss shortly. Over the past 5 years, the Nigerian insurance industry has experienced notable growth, positioning itself in the healthier state than in 2017. As total assets rose by 20% to reach 2.7 trillion in Q2 of 2023 from 1.1 trillion in 2017. As of December 2022, the gross premium income of the industry was 726 billion, a growth of 15.1% year on year, reflecting a remarkable performance compared to the real GDP growth of 3.1% over the same period. That aside, there are some direct and obvious contributions of insurance to the economy. As earlier mentioned, I'll look at this from 4 perspectives: provision of capital, protection against financial losses, promotion of economic growth, and preservation of the economy. First, protection against financial losses. Insurance by nature serves as a form of protection. It provides financial support and reduces uncertainty in business and human life. It provides a buffer against the financial consequences of disastrous occurrences and significant risks associated with business operations, including but not limited to natural disasters, business interruptions, consequential losses, data breaches, property damage, unexpected medical and personal expenses. It also keeps individuals and organizations afloat in cases of emergencies. 255 billion in gross claims was paid in 2022 across various risk categories, sectors, and economic segments, up from 224 billion in 2020. It provides financial security, which encourages both individuals and entities to pursue investment and entrepreneurial ventures, knowing potential losses are mitigated and capital restored to pre-existing levels. As we all know, the whole essence, as we were taught then in school, that insurance primarily you want to place you in the position you were just before the loss, right? So when there is a loss, what insurance does is that they settle your claim so that at least they can put you in the position that you were just immediately before the loss. This encourages continuity of business and risk taking. Permit me at this point to mention a few notable cases of non-insurance and its associated consequences. Because again, it's just important to also know that there are consequences for not taking insurance. And I'll just speak to 2 of them. In 2020, the NSAS protest of police brutality that started out peacefully generated into chaos, with hoodlums hijacking the protest. Several buildings, malls, and public properties were vandalized, burgled, and destroyed. One of the popular malls in Lekki area of Lagos State was looted and burned. The mall was insured, fortunately, and was able to recover from the unfortunate incident. But unfortunately, there are some small shops within the mall who did not have either proper insurance or they don't even have insurance at all. And unfortunately, they couldn't even recover, even years later. Some never did. In 2018, Nigeria witnessed one of the most devastating floods in recent times. According to the chairman of the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, Jigawa chapter, over 100,000 hectares of rice farm were destroyed, affecting over 50,000 rice farmers in the state and about 550,000 rice farmers across the nation. The following year, all that could be done for these farmers, who doubled as critical stakeholders in the economy, was an extension of the loan repayment period. There was no form of financial loss recovery whatsoever. The Anchor Borrowers Program loan were simply restructured for 4 years from the previous 1-year tenure. Many of these farmers did not recover for years, and I suspect some of them never did. With adequate insurance cover beyond the loss recovery of these farmers, what they would have enjoyed, this would have been a significant addition to the financial inclusion figure of the country, with the farmers having benefited firsthand from the possibilities of insurance, engaging and engendering trust in the financial system. This financial inclusion serves to foster a culture of resilience and broaden the base economic activity, leading to greater stability and growth. The second point I will also want to mention under the direct contribution of insurance to the economy is provision of capital. The state of economy can be impacted by the investment strategies of insurance companies. Today, many insurance companies have invested in various sectors of the economy, including pensions, health, investment companies, fund managers, and the likes. Also, the insurance premium are channeled into the capital markets as investment in stock, bonds, and government securities, which are productively employed in the nation's industrial development. This has the potential of advancing the long-term economic growth initiatives. It fuels business growth, capital formation needed for infrastructural development, and further drives the economic prosperity of the country. Several such infrastructural projects across the nation include the likes of the Blue and the Red Rail. Recently, we also know of Dangote Refinery. All these are backed by insurance. Aside the primary and direct impact of insurance sector has on the economy, there are also some indirect contributions. And I'll just mention just two of them: promotion of economic growth and also preservation of the economy. Insurance propels business and economic growth. It facilitates mobilization of domestic savings, and business promoters are encouraged to innovate. When you are sure that you have the backing of an insurance company, your appetite to take risk becomes higher. And accumulation of capital in turning into productive investment. It promotes trade and commerce activities that result in economic growth and development. Insurance also, in times of economic crisis, provides a life jacket by mitigating losses. Collaboration between the government and insurance players has the potential to advance disaster recovery and revitalization of the economy. These are integral and to promote economic stability, enhancing financial well-being, and supporting sustainable development across various sectors and segments of the society. Financial inclusion, social well-being, property alleviation, increased customer confidence in the financial sector, and perhaps, most importantly, actualization of dreams of entrepreneurs. There is financial inclusion angle to insurance through the provision of affordable risks, management solutions, especially in the rural areas. It empowers individuals and small businesses to participate more fully in the economy. The micro insurance is driving this agenda. Imagine an economy without insurance. As you are very much aware, probably even aeroplanes will not fly. Ships will not sail. And if you are law-abiding, even your cars, you can't drive on the public roads. If you are law-abiding, I like that. If you are law-abiding, you can't even drive your cars on the public road. And just imagine what will happen if we don't have the backing of insurance to propel all these activities. Now, the role of insurance has been pivotal to both the private and public sector. In this way, the insurance is a value creation partner, helping to drive prosperity within the nation. Again, I say a dependable friend in uncertain times. The industry has made many positive strides over the year, but there are still areas of improvement and challenges facing the sector on both the supply and demand sides, some of which include talent gaps, comparatively low public awareness, insurance affordability, lack of trust and confidence in insurance, culture and religion biases, inadequate distribution channels, low enforcement of insurance, to mention but very, very few. Insurance penetration, that is the ratio of premium to our GDP, remains very, very, very low by many standards for an economy the size of Nigeria, with a population of over 200 million. As of 2022, the insurance penetration for Nigeria was 0.4%, compared to South Africa at 11.3%, Morocco and Ivory Coast 1.2%. Paradoxically, the population of Nigeria is higher than all these countries put together. I mean, it's that what we see. But with insurance penetration of less than 1%, we all have a very huge, role to play in ensuring that insurance permeates our economy and truly gets into the core of our being, to becoming a culture. But just before we started this program, I've been assured that everybody seated here today have one form of insurance. So you are not guilty. At least you are also contributing, right, to the less than 1%. Let's clap for ourselves. I can see that some people are not clapping. Those are the lives without insurance. All right. In conclusion, I would like to share with you some of the initiatives the industry is focusing on. First, increased adoption of digital platforms for underwriting processes and policy management. Growing focus on personalized products and services tailored to customer-specific needs. Those are gone are those days when we sit at the comfort of our offices and we will just imagine a product that is fit for the customer. Just sit down, just design products and just sell it in the market. But now, insurance has advanced. Normally, you carry out a market survey to have the feel of what the customers actually need before you think of what the features and benefits you want to put together, and sell to the market. So at least we are making an impact in that area. Also, the rise of InsurTech setups offering, we still have a lot to do in terms of reaching out to the micros, the rural areas. Right? We just talked about what I'm sure this will be discussed during the panel session. We are not doing so much in that area, and I am challenging the players that is an area that we need to focus on. Collaboration between insurance and technology companies to develop advanced underwriting tools and platforms. May I also make the following recommendations for the growth of the insurance sector? And first, this goes to the government agencies, enforcement agencies. Enforcement of insurance policies made mandatory by law for individuals and business organizations to encourage and protect investors, as well as ensure sustained economic growth. Today, at least we have policies that are made mandatory, but implementing them is, is a challenge, really. If they are enforced, I don't think we'll be talking about the figures we are seeing here today. I think one of the things that we need to focus on is how we can implement or enforce those mandatory insurances. To the regulatory authority, it should put in place policies to enforce transparent and also efficient management of funds of the insurers. And to the operators, the insurance industry operators need to constantly work hand in hand to ensure a healthy, mutual, beneficial self-regulation. Let me close this address with a very, very familiar story. I'm sure we are all familiar with the story of the shepherd boy who took on a giant in defense of his nation, who has been harassed for not less than 40 days. By all physical standard, the shepherd boy was going on a risk that is even too hot to handle. That it was suicide mission, facing a giant. But unknown to the cheerleaders and opposition, he has a covering of an invisible and invisible man of war. That gave him the courage and spur his appetite to take on the giant. Incidentally, well, your guess can be as good as mine who won the battle. But guess what? The cheerleaders also had access to that same invisible man of war. But they didn't access it. The opposition doesn't even know at all. So they couldn't even make any exploits. But today I'm asking, which party do you belong to? The shepherd boy who knew about insurance and also assessed insurance cover? Or the cheerleaders who knew about insurance but didn't take the insurance cover? Or the opposition who neither knew about insurance nor took insurance cover? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that brilliant keynote address. We just finished hearing from Mr. Rotimi Ogunleye, the ED Old Mutual Assurance, and he was representing the keynote speaker for today. He did mention that a lot needs to be done to encourage insurance at the micro and macro levels, and I completely agree with that because I actually cut my teeth in insurance, and for the longest time, I would tell you that getting the people at the grassroots to actually embrace insurance is the toughest thing to do. So I completely agree with that. So once again, please give him a big round of applause for that brilliant keynote address. At this juncture, we will now be taking our first panel session. Our first panel session will be on the economic impact of insurance, and it will be moderated by Ms. Kemi Michael, Business Day's broadcast journalist, and she'll be introducing the panelists as well. So please let her feel welcome as she comes up stage.
Thank you, Miss Lizzie. Thank you so much. Good morning. And my name is Kemi Michael. I'm not Yoruba. Let's just start with that. Before some people start, asking me Baoni, I've gotten a lot of Baonis before. So for our first panel, which is the economic impact of insurance, we have just two speakers joining me to talk, and these chairs are looking like a lot. But seeing as we have a lot of insurance people in here, I have a question to ask. I don't know if anybody has seen the Transformers movie. Okay, great. Please, are they going to get a car insurance or a life insurance? Hybrid. Okay, that's beautiful. That was good to know. Thank you very much. All right, now moving on. Now, our first speaker has over 25 years of experience in the insurance industry, as well as a degree in insurance and MBA as well. He is also a fellow of the Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria and an alumnus of Lagos Business School, Howard Business School, and Columbia Business School. Now, all his qualifications and experience make him the right person to have this conversation about the economic impact of insurance. Now, let's put our hands together as I will call on stage Mr. Moruf Apampa, the MD and CEO of NCIA Insurance Limited. NCI Insurance. NCIA. Okay, my bad. NCIA Insurance. Let's give him another round of applause. Now, our next speaker has held a pivotal role at Cornerstone Insurance PLC and International Energy Insurance, where he focused on research and enterprise risk management. Now, his leadership extends to committee roles and extensive training, including prestigious programs at Lagos Business School and Strategy Performance Institute, California. Now let's put our hands together for a man who knows his onions and has practiced in the industry for over 2 decades. Join me in welcoming Mr. Chibueze Godwin Johnson. He is the Chief Risk Officer, that's the SRO, of Unitrust Insurance CO Limited. Put your hands together again for him. All right, I'm going to join you on stage now. Oh, whichever is fine with you. I'm good. That's it. Mic beside you. All right. All right, I'm flanked by 2 beautiful-looking men. I love it. Let's get straight into it. Today, our first panel, which is the economic impact of insurance. We're going to be looking at, as the name implies, the importance of insurance on the economy, the growth and development of the economy. My first question is, are you going to pick your questions or should I pick myself? Okay, let's go straight into it then. Our first question is, how does the industry, that's the insurance industry, contribute to economic stability and growth on both macroeconomic and microeconomic level? Let me start with you.
Thank you very much, Kemi. Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here today. I think it's a privilege to sit here to talk about this topic today. I think the topic is actually very, very apt. It's very, very critical at this particular moment for us to actually look at it. And if you look at the environment and the economy as a whole, I think the critical success factor currently for any economy, currently as we speak, is the resilience to actually face the challenges, to navigate around those challenges that will now enable that economy to achieve its set goals in terms of growth and productivity. So insurance acts as a buffer, is the right buffer, which will actually act to correct that. And the major impact, you can actually look at it from both the macro level and at the micro level, and I'll explain. At the macro level, now if you look at what the guest speaker said the other time, the keynote speaker, he talked about the asset of insurance. Insurance asset under management as we speak today, as at the 2022, was actually over 2.7 trillion. Now, that same year, insurance paid over 255 billion as claims. Now, you can imagine the impact on the economy. Now, for most of the insurance companies, we're actually a major investor in the federal government bond. Now, insurance actually have access to long-term investable fund. Now, when you have access to long-term investable fund, you're able to invest in the economy. Now, there are also multiplier effect on the economy. Now, in the area of bond, we not just buy bond for buying bond sake. For those on the right writing annuity, there are several reasons for you to buy that bond to actually cover the liability you've created. And you have these people investing for long term. Now, you have some that will actually purchase the further annuity. Now, with the asset we have, investing in government bond, it also gives the government the capacity to also invest money further again. Again, when you look at it collectively, the claims we've paid to those companies at over 255 billion, you can imagine the effect if those companies were not actually insured. Now, what will happen to their staff? What will happen to their families? And what will happen to a larger household? Now, when you take it to the micro level, you have over 17 million SMEs in the country. You also have various traders here and there. Now, for those people, even to banks now, those people initially before, they're actually unbanked. But now, with the support of insurance, they're able to give a facility. I mean, we're actually partnering with a particular bank. Before, they were unable to actually provide cover for those markets. But now, with the support of insurance, they're also taking that risk to go ahead and provide cover for those people. And those people are also able to expand their economy. So if you look at it at the micro level and at the macro level, insurance has a major, major role to play. You cannot overemphasize it. Insurance is actually the buffer that will actually act as a catalyst for growth of the economy. You cannot overemphasize it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything to add to what he has said?
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Johnson Chibweze. I just want to start from where the MD spoke, which is that insurance acts as a catalyst. Insurance acts as a catalyst to economic growth. So you see, for an economy, when you have insurance, and that is the pain we have, that a number of persons, when the guest speaker was speaking, he was talking about the fact that insurance penetration is very, very low. Now, when insurance penetration is high in terms of premium, you now begin to see that it has impact on the GDP. And when there is an increased GDP, it impacts positively on the economy. It creates employment opportunities, and the economy is good. But what we have in Nigeria at the moment, from the number of data that most of us have here, you find out that our penetration rate in terms of penetration of insurance in our economy is so low to the point of about 0.5%. Compared with some other economies, the global average is about 10%, 11%. If you look even within Africa here, South Africa, for instance, is about 10%, 11%. You bring it further to even West Africa here, even Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, they have a larger penetration rate than us. So what we're saying is that insurance, when there is a high penetration rate, it's a catalyst for growth in an economy at the macro level. When he was talking about claims, he talked about the amount of claims that we are paid. So many companies suffered. My company, for instance, there's a huge claim. We paid over 2.5 billion as claims last year. This year, in the first 2 months of this year, we paid over 200 million. In fact, there is a claim we are dealing with at the moment that is over 500 million. So you can imagine what would have happened to that company or those individuals or those companies that suffered this claim if we had not come to support them. Some of them perhaps would have gone under. So even at the macro level, insurance helps as a catalyst to economic development, to even help those small organizations, to help those small micro SME companies to ensure that even when they suffer losses, which is part of the benefit and the major benefit of insurance, that when there is a huge loss or when there is a loss, insurance is there for you to help you to recover. So as a country, you remember the NSAS claim, the lead speaker again when he was speaking, a number of companies suffered losses during the NSAS. A number of insurance companies paid claim. My company paid claim. And so those companies that suffered those claims, those losses, the insurance company coming on board to help them to pay those claims, help them to recover and bring them back to the position they were before those losses.
All right, thank you very much for that one. Now let's move on to digital technologies. How exactly has the insurance industry bought into digitalization? Because I know that there's the rise of AI, there's the rise of so many things that could help and also maybe downplay the whole need for insurance. How exactly have you adapted?
Thank you very much. I think you're all very, very familiar with what is actually going on currently, not just in Nigeria, globally. It's either you adopt technology. If you don't adopt technology now, you are dead. It's just a matter of time. I went to a particular house. A 2-year-old boy was actually playing with the father's mobile phone. And I was shocked the way he was able to navigate his way around the phone to access a couple of other things. And the father said he should go to a particular cartoon to watch. The young boy at age 2 was able to navigate his way down there. Now, I also had the opportunity of sitting with an elderly man, a 77-year-old man. We were traveling together. We had a bit of challenges, and he was able to actually change his sticker, did a couple of things. This era we have is either you adopt technology or you die. So for the insurance industry, is an area where we've actually invested. Have we done enough? I'll tell you no. Could it be better? I'll tell you yes. So it's continuous improvement, continuous investment, because we have to invest in technology to as an actually scale our operations. A couple of things happen. If you look at our business model, when you leverage technology, you are able to have access to a couple of other people. I give a typical case study. Now, for mobile phone users in the country, we have over 126 million people. MTN alone control over 80 million people. Now, we're talking about insurance penetration. For the insurance industry, we have 2 major channels, the brokers and the agents. Then the other channel is actually the alternative channels. Now, for the broker, we have less than 1,000 brokers in the country. For the agents, we have less than 100,000 agents in the country. And we have over 220 million people. How do you assess these people? Who are those people to assess them? Now, with technology, if you're working with an organization like MTN, for instance, with over 80 million customer base, now, your ability to actually partner with them gives you access to over 80 million customers. Now, even if you're not getting all the customers, let's even say 5% of it, the number of agents you have is not enough to assess the people we have in this country. Again, we talk about the SMEs. A couple of years ago, I worked with a particular organization. That organization was actually working in the northern part of the country. They have actually virtual agents. This particular client had over 14,000 farmers. And where does he work? From his mobile. He has never set his eyes on most of them. But what he did was just to have access to their numbers, and they were actually engaging. Now, again, through technology, they were able to also provide cover for their farm's produce and a couple of other things. Now, technology enables you to do a couple of other things that you cannot ordinarily do. In terms of scaling your operation, you are able to do a lot. Now, when you invest in technology, now we just develop a mobile app whereby if there's any claim or you want to go do inspection, you can just snap on your phone, send to the office. We can adjust your claim on the go. So that means we can actually set your claim within 1 day, within 24 hours. Do you understand? The same thing also applies to salespeople on the field. Now, they belong to so many communities. Now, I mean, this alumni, I can actually have access to over 200 people at a go. Now, if I were to assess those 200 people one by one, it will take time. It's not cost effective. So with technology, if you adopt technology, it will reduce cost of doing business. It will enable you to scale your operations. Then you become much more efficient. Now, you're not losing anything. So whatever money you are spending on technology, you are actually investing for the future. And, you know, brick and mortar will never win the war. And I'll give you just a small story. If you look at Netflix, before they started, and this cinema house, I've forgotten their name now. So the founder of Netflix actually went to borrow tape. When he got there, there was a bit of delay in returning that video. And he said to himself, so how do we actually allow people like him to have access to video without going to the cinema houses? Now, for the cinema houses then, you know, I mean, when you compare the growth then to what the growth were to be today, we're just adopting it back again. With that Netflix guy, he was able to access more customers than what the other person, other organization could. And in less than 10 years, the other company went down and Netflix went up. So with technology, you have a lot to gain. In terms of adoption, when you adopt technology, it scales your operations, you become much more efficient, you become less expensive as an organization, then you become much more profitable and efficient. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much for that one. And Mr. Johnson, I would like to ask you, from what he has said, do you agree with him or do you have anything that dispars what he says?
There is this book that is titled Innovate or Die. Now, any organization that would not embrace technology, I'm afraid is going to go extinct, is going to die. So technology has come to stay, and any insurance company that must make a headway has to adopt and embrace technology. Let's look at starting from COVID. Before COVID, not many organizations knew that they can work remotely. Today, many organizations can work remotely from the comfort of their homes. They can work remotely, still delivering value, doing the things that they can do right in the office. That is in the area of their employees. Now, technology has helped the businesses and will continue to help the businesses. For instance, in terms of customer engagement, you now use technology to engage customers. You now have AI-enabled devices that can enable you to have interaction with customers such that you can have information on those customers, which helps you to determine the kind of services you render to those customers, even in areas of wanting to develop customized products for them. In terms of risk pricing, now there are these arguments that has been out there. Some people have argued that insurance industry should adopt pay as you go, like you have in the mobile communication space. You know, until Glo came on board, when MTN came into Nigeria, they were charging us per minute billing. So when Glo came on board, they started charging us per second billing. Now there is this argument that insurance companies, in terms of risk pricing, should not charge me based on a one-year business. So for instance, you have a family that have maybe 3 cars, and maybe the wife of the person is maybe always abroad with the children who are in school overseas, and she has a car, and she drives her car maybe 3 months in a year. So the argument is that, why do you want to charge me one whole year? Why don't you charge me for the period that my car is on the road here? So what we're saying is that technology is going to help us even in the area of risk pricing to determine appropriate pricing to charge for those risks that we cover. In terms of claims payment, technology is beginning to help us. In terms of using technology to be able to, today, if we want to carry out pre-loss survey, post-loss survey, some of the locations we might not be there. But we use technology devices to even with our phone, we have cases where we can use our phone to do survey inspections. You do a video call. These are all part of what technology is doing. So what we're saying is that it is going to reduce costs with the embrace of technology, and no insurance company is going to survive in this market if it doesn't embrace technology. So it's going to improve cost, it's going to enhance decision making, it's going to help risk pricing, so that the buyers of insurance, when the keynote speaker was speaking, you know, he was being a bit diplomatic when he was trying to ask how many persons perhaps have insurance here. If you take census of number of persons that have insurance here, you'll be surprised the number of persons might not be as significantly high as it should be. The point I'm trying to bring out is that technology is going to help more people to embrace insurance, because they're going to see the value that we are adding. The value, we are selling service, and people want to see the value in that service. and they're going to see that value when we pay claim. And so technology is beginning to help us to pay claim. When the lead speaker again was speaking, he made reference to the number of claims that were paid last year. So as an industry, we paid over 300, almost about 300 billion last year. Out of that claim of about 300 billion that was paid last year, I come to over 2.5 billion. So people want to see value. So when we introduce technology that it is at the moment, it helps our business. And in helping our business, the consumer, who some of them are still a bit skeptical about insurance, are beginning to see the need to embrace insurance, because what technology is doing is because it's beginning to enable us have a one-on-one interface in terms of customer engagement with them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please let's put our hands together if we agree with that. All right, for our next question is going to be directed to you, Mr. Johnson. Now, what exactly are the consequences of underinsurance? I understand that in Nigeria today, I mean, most of us came late because of the traffic of the falling truck along the road. Now, if these things are insured, if all of this are insured, I'm very sure that a lot of things would not be the way they are. But what exactly are those things you can point at that are the risks that this underinsurance are causing?
Okay, thank you. First of all, one of the principles of insurance is that when we want to bring you back to the state where you were before the loss occurred. So in other words, when you buy insurance, insurance is basically a financial contract between the insured and the insurer. And that financial contract means that the insured pays pays premium to the insurance company. And so that premium that you have paid, when a claim occurs, we want to bring you to the point where you were before the occurrence of that claim. Now, we find out that a lot of people like to underinsure. Nigeria is an interesting country, let me put it that way. And that is why you have a population, for instance, one of the former heads of state said that economic theories that have worked in other climes, they seldomly work in Nigeria. That's a discussion for another day. And so you have a country where a lot of people, you have a country where you have 200 million people, and you have an insurance penetration of less than 0.5%. Now, when you take that in perspective, you now begin to see that people are averse to insurance. And those who now take insurance also engage in what we call under insurance, which is what you asked. And so what are the implications? First of all, when a claim occurs, two kinds of claims will likely occur. Maybe, let's take motor for instance. A claim occurs, so it's an accidental claim. And so we call for your claims document, the documents you use to process your claim. Now, we find out that you have insurance. When we take the file review it, there is a likely thing that's going to happen. We are not going to pay you the exact amount in terms of what you are supposed to get. Now, what do I mean by that? Say, take for instance, let's take total loss. If a total loss occurs, and you know the inflation rate in Nigeria at the moment, so you insured for 5 million, for instance, and that vehicle, let me put it in perspective, you insured for 5 million. The vehicle is worth 10 million. Now, if a claim occurs, if we pay you 5 million, you will not be able to use the 5 million to bring yourself back to the state you were before that claim occurred. So it means that you have underinsured. And what the insurance company is trying to do by bringing you back to the state you were before that loss, because you underinsured, you will not be able to achieve that. Same also in terms of if it's accidental claim. You find out that what you are going to get in terms of claims may not be able to bring you back to the state. So what we are simply saying is that people should not underinsure. People who, there's what we call moral hazard. People who underinsure are those who want to make a gain out of insurance. And one of the principles of insurance is that you are not supposed to make a gain out of insurance. The insurance company is expected to bring you back to the state where you are before the loss occurs. So in direct answer to your question, when people underinsure, what it does is that, one, is that it will not be able to bring you back to the state you were before that loss, because the insurance companies, they will pay you based on what you have insured. And what you have insured, particularly for an economy such as ours, where the inflation now is high, we will not be able to bring you back to that. So we encourage people to do proper insurance. We encourage people to do proper insurance. When you want to insure all their different kinds of insurance, give us the exact value of that asset, and we will value it, and we will insure it. And so when a claim occurs, we'll be able to pay you and return you, mark that word, return you back to the state you were before that loss.
Thank you very, very much. Now, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the issue of underinsurance, I think we as insurance people have a major role to play. And I'll give you some instances. A couple of years ago, we partnered with a particular bank. They are actually selling insurance. They give facility to all these traders in Okiari market here, and they provide a cover for their stocks. So some of them felt they were smart enough. They didn't want to pay the premium. Their stocks, they reduce the value. I.e., for instance, your stock is 10 million, they reduce the value to 5 million. We insure those properties. Now, at the time of loss, there was a fire incident. The people that insured adequately were properly compensated. In fact, that incident actually gave me my first real breakthrough in insurance in terms of the commission I made after that incident. Now, we say insurance is never bought but sold. After that incident, people were coming to buy insurance from me. And I'll tell you why. So the people that insured adequately, I mean, it was a general knowledge that there was an incident at that place. So within a week, we pay them back their claim. Except those people that got facility from that particular bank actually insured their asset. Now, for those that are insured adequately, we pay them. The person that's underinsured, we didn't pay them. We pay them based on what the value of the property were at that time. And the people that didn't insure at all, some people lost their lives in the process. Some people got paralyzed in the process because they couldn't go back to that business. But the other people, the following week, they're back in business again. So guess what? They were asking them, what happened? They said it's insurance. That was the advent of mobile phone. They gave them my mobile phone. At a stage, I wasn't going anywhere again to any broker. I was just going to Okiari Market, or they were coming to my office. Before I come back to the office, this person came to look for you. People could actually buy insurance. It's about the message. It's about the messenger, not the message. I think we need to do more on our part. So when you underinsure, there's so many implications. One of my very good clients recently, his renewal was actually at the end of this month. So we sent him renewal notice. He saw the premium, and he reduced all the value by half. Smart underwriters, God bless the guy. He wrote him back again. Thank you for reducing the value, but at the time of loss, we're also going to reduce the claim we're going to pay by 50%, because what you've done is to reduce the sum assured by 50%. So you're not insuring adequately. The guy called me. He said, "Guy, what's going on here?" I said, "Did you reduce the value?" He said, "Yes, I did." I said, "So what you are doing is you are cheating other people that are contributing to this pool. It's a common pool." Because I'll give you an instance. For fire policy, if there's any fire loss on a property, on that particular property, without another property, it will take an insurance company almost 400 years to recover that premium. So now, if you're not under insuring and others are insuring adequately, and you have a loss, that means you're not allowing us to compensate you are cheating other people. So I think it's very important to insure adequately. Again, like you rightly said, if you underinsure and there's a total loss, and they pay you the amount you've actually insured, the value at risk. So if that happens, that means you will not be able to buy that car back again. For instance, a couple of years ago, a particular brand, let's say Corolla, for instance, used to be 3 million, 4 million. That same Corolla now is going for over 40 million. So now you decide to insure that Corolla at 5 million because you didn't want to pay premium. So if there's any loss, we'll be able to buy back that car. So insurance is what you buy when you don't need it. But when you need it, you can never buy it. So it's very important to insure adequately. And when you insure adequately, at the time of claim, you're able to get your value back. So under insurance, it's a major issue in the Nigerian economy. But however, we all as underwriters have a major role to play. Number one is about communication. We have to continue to educate our people the implication of underinsurance, because this will also cause disaffection at the time of claim. You hear people say, insurance people are fraudulent. They don't pay my claims. But people never get to the root of what actually happened. Now, if you insure your car for 4 million, the sum assured on that car is actually 20 million. Now, they pay you what you're entitled to, and you now goes, insurance people are bad. But nobody will ever listen to the total story. So that's why the insurance conversation in this country has to be a continuous one. It's not just here. When we talk about penetration, we still have a lot to do. When they're saying 0.5% penetration, what I say is so much opportunities for us to scale. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you have any questions, kindly write it down. And there's someone at the back waving hands, so you can send your questions to him, and I would receive it and ask our panelists today. Before we move on, again, I would announce if you have any questions, write it down. And if you want a particular panelist to answer it, you can also write their names beside it. He is Mr. Morov and he is Mr. Johnson. So you can write it beside your question. Thank you very much. Now for our next question, what are some of these emerging trends or innovations? We've spoken about technology. What are these emerging trends and innovations that this industry, that's insurance industry, has taken and used and are using? And also, what are these policies that the government can put in place in order to help the insurance industry?
Thank you very much for that question. I think a couple of years ago, I was at a particular conference where I was a guest speaker. And the topic was actually on disruptive technology, the impact and implication on the business. By the time, when we were doing that research, a couple of things came to mind and came to the fore. After that session, we came back. To the glory of God, we launched the first USSD in the insurance industry. And what are the implications? As at that time, it has never been done. It was actually very novel to the insurance industry that you can buy insurance from your mobile phone. You make payment, you pay your premium, and you also get your certificate right there on the spot. And what that does is actually to simplify the model we're actually using in terms of efficiency, in terms of cost, and a couple of other things. And we were able to do that because, you look at where the country is going to, not just the country, the nation, the global village at large, that you have to adopt technology. And when you adopt technology, it helps you. Number one, apart from scaling our business, it changed the perception about that particular organization that time. So even people buying insurance, if you look at where we are currently today, people buying insurance, you can actually determine the age. 35 and above, 35 lower, from 18 to 35, we have challenges penetrating those people. Now, if you look at the lifetime age of a customer, I'll give you a typical example. A couple of years ago, one of my mentees was actually a corper while he was a student in Unilag. A particular bank, so I'm not going to advertise for them, went to Unilag, opened an account for them. That young man grew up, started working. He was still using the same bank. 10, 15 years down the line, left that organization to set up his own organization too. Now, that young man now has over 300 staff working for him. All the employees of that particular organization still bank with the same bank that young man was actually banking with them. You can imagine if we can actually have access to students now. So how do we sell to these people? Where do we meet them? So in terms of customer mapping, segmentation, it's not the agents we are using to sell to traders in Okiani or Alaba that we use to sell to these people. We need to operate in their space. In fact, these people, they have their own languages. There is a way you have to meet with them. So how do we connect with these people? It's only through technology you can actually access these people because that's where they operate. Now, you can also leverage all of this to improve your operations. And the industry, we're actually doing a lot in that regard. Various organizations. The NIID, for instance, It's based on what technology can do for us. Now, there are a couple of claims. I mean, some time ago, someone brought a transaction, a claim, and we went on the NID portal. We realized that car was actually insured with another insurance company before. So it helps you to tackle the issue of claims, fraudulent claims. It helps you to solve a couple of other problems. Again, to government, you're able to also link a couple. I mean, the NIN stuff they're talking about BVN, you are able to integrate a couple of other things. We're currently partnering with a particular bank, and what we are actually doing, I mean, we just exchange API. We don't go there all the time. What we just do is we see money rolling in, and we exchange whatever document we want to do. Before now, you want to print documents, you want to process policy document, to take it there. All these things are done seamlessly. So with technology, it helps. It brings about efficiency, saves a lot of things. Even the traffic on the road, you're able to decongest your road. You're able to do a couple of other things that are making the economy much more productive and the organizations too becoming much more efficient. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, just to add to that, like you said, technology is helping the business. For us also, we have a number of products that we sell now that people can access without coming to our offices. For instance, travel insurance. So people can now buy a travel insurance without go to our website, pay online, get your policy document, and get your certificate, and you can have your travel insurance. Even your marine cargo insurance, you can also get it. So technology is really helping the business. Several years ago, I don't know the last time I personally went to the bank to do some business, you know. That is how people want to begin to see insurance, where they'll be able to buy insurance policies without having to come to insurance offices. Even the brokers who control the over 70% of the insurance space, they also want to see a situation whereby they'll be able to get some of these policy documents through the use of technology without having to come to offices. So technology is beginning to help the business. Earlier I talked about the area of risk pricing, how technology is beginning to help us to have a better understanding of our customers, understand the customers that we are dealing with, and be able to appraise the risk properly. And you know, when we appraise the risk properly, then you can charge appropriate premium for the risk that you carry. Then of course, which is the biggest of all, claims payment. That is the value people want to see. When you see people not interested in insurance, it is only when they think they are not getting value. And for insurance company, where our value, where we give our biggest value is in claims payment. When we pay claim, people are very, very, very happy. We talked about the amount that we paid the claims as an industry last year. You can see close to 300 billion. Now, in terms of government, the government comment, we really want the government to really comment. We have compulsory insurances that up till now, I remember in 2009, the commission, that is NICOM, the then Commissioner of Insurance in their MDRI had projected that by 2012, that was in 2009, MDRI had projected by 2012, the insurance industry will grow to about 1 trillion in terms of premium income. But as we speak today, the insurance industry using 2022 data has just done about 726 billion, with an average growth rate of about 14% over the last 5 years. And if you do an extrapolation of that, maybe for 2023, we might just still have less than 850 billion. So before we can hit the 1 trillion mark, it will get to maybe 2020, end of 2024, or perhaps 2025, because before the insurance industry in Nigeria can hit the 1 trillion mark. So what we are saying is that there are opportunities which the government can also help us. So if you look at the compulsory insurance classes, there is building under construction, there is public building, of course there is third-party motor. If you talk of third-party motor, you have about 12.5 million vehicles on Nigerian roads. Only about 25% of that is insured. Just about 3.5% of vehicles that are Nigerian roads that are insured. So what we're saying is that the government can also help that these areas of compulsory insurances, there should be enforcement. So it's not enough to have regulations around those areas. There should be a way to enforce it so that insurance industry can actually reap the benefit of that. And of course, when they reap the benefit of that, it will impact on premium growth. And if it impacts on premium growth, it impacts on the GDP of the economy. And if it impacts on the GDP, the economy is growing, it creates opportunities. So we want to see a situation whereby government will help in those areas of compulsory insurances, so that as we introduce technology, we will use technology to drive all of those products, and it will be a win-win situation, both for the government, both for the insurer, and both for the insured.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now for the questions, do we have any questions? Or should we wrap up? Anybody want to ask any question? Oh, we're all right. We have 2 questions now. Can someone help me? All right, we can.
So quick question, what can we learn from the likes of South Africa and Kenya, who have significantly higher penetration rates than we do here, despite even our population advantage and our economic size advantage? What are 2, 3, 4 things that they've done well that we can easily transport into our environment to make the desired change we're all talking about? Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Okay,
I'll go. Thank you very much for that beautiful questions. Now, people talk about South Africa and they talk about insurance penetration, but we also need to be aware of the culture. For South Africa, you have a couple of other financial institutions that has been there. I don't want to mention names, for over 100 years. You have South Africa just getting their independence barely 1994. So you have predominantly dominated white people. So the insurance consciousness is there, the awareness is there. You also go to Namibia again. So where you see penetration that is higher in Africa, that means they have majorly dominance of Europeans and large organizations. So in South Africa, like you said again, one of the key things they did was actually communication. They also leverage technology. And the literacy when it comes to education on insurance is actually very, very critical. They do that right from when they were actually very young. So that consciousness is there. Also, when you look at that environment, they're more, you call them South Africa, but they're more Europeans than they are Africans. But however, if you also look at the economy, with due respect and all sense of responsibility, we say we're the largest economy in Africa. But in recent, when you actually go to South Africa, you see real economic growth. You see real productivity in the real sense of it. And I think we still have a lot to do. We have so much to scale in terms of our populations, the opportunities it portends, and we can actually leverage that. They're leveraging technology, they're leveraging their resources, they're investing so much in their people, in the organization, and I think we have a lot to do. Now, when you now move to Kenya, again, I will emphasize this, and there is a joke that we usually joked about that we didn't allow the white people to stay so long here. We quickly sent them away. So that's why we didn't actually develop. The last AIO conference I went to in Kenya, the hotel I stayed in was actually, like you're saying, you're going to Marina. In fact, I was the last person they dropped in that hotel. When they were going to other places, when we got to the hotel, in fact, when we got to that environment, I said, I made a major blunder. Why did I choose this hotel? But guess what? I just said, let me just go in and see. The moment I entered that hotel, even from outside, the smell, the aroma, the flowers in that environment was very welcoming. I entered that hotel. I actually learned that hotel was actually the oldest hotel in Kenya. It's been there for quite a while. So it's like you're having an hotel in Broad Street. Broad Street. Everywhere was actually very, very neat. Went in there, spent like 7 days there. And when you see Kenya, you have a lot of white people there. Apart from the white people there, they go there, it's a tourist center. Now, what they've actually leveraged majorly is actually technology. In Africa today, apart from South Africa and Zimbabwe, Kenya has the largest number of actuaries in the entire African continent. Nigeria, we're struggling. In fact, we even have to import people from Kenya to come and work here in Nigeria. So again, if you look at that environment, they've invested so much in their technology. In fact, their mobile number is what they use as their bank number. They don't use anything. In fact, I want to remember this there. M-Pesa, God bless you. They started M-Pesa. And they've actually leveraged it. In fact, the software most of us are using here is actually from Kenya. And this actually developed by those people. So we have a lot to learn from these people. And we also need to change our orientation as a country. In terms of our culture, we see insurance, we're still not there yet. The way we see insurance, maybe is the message. Even in Ghana, what sells majorly in Ghana, they sell more funeral policy in Ghana than any other, apart from South Africa, than any other country in Africa. Now, it's their own culture. Now, you now want to now sell that same funeral here. When people hear, you know, the way we go about it, in case you die, the first thing is, God forbid. Nobody wants to die. So, our own environment is actually a very peculiar environment. And you can think strategy globally, but you need to be mindful of the environment you are doing your business. We need to be able to do our own homegrown solution and strategy to be able to unlock the potentials we have here. And it has started. And I can assure you, the way we are going about it here in this country, I said something the other time, 17 million SMEs. That's a major, major opportunity for change. The entire population for Côte d'Ivoire is actually less than 25 million. The population for Lagos alone is over 23 million. The entire Nigeria is about 6-7 countries in the Francophone. So the moment we get it right, let's start from the primary school. In terms of our curriculum, do they actually understand what insurance is? Can we catch them young? Then can we also encourage? And you know, Bill Gates said something. He said it's only by listening to customers and being creative, that's the only way we can actually have a future. Can we also sell policy that people can actually buy? You see Naira Bet. You see a lot of betting companies coming up. You know why they buy? For statisticians here and mathematicians, the probability of winning is actually 0.00000000. But you know what? They still buy. In fact, you see them when they pay, even when they're not winning. If someone wins, they celebrate. In fact, the next time they're going to buy, they still go there to buy. But guess what? It's easier to purchase. They just buy 20 naira, 50 naira. It's critical mass. But the money they are making from it is actually quite huge. How can we also start, you know, breaking bulk for insurance? We've started already, but we're not there yet. Can I, as a trader, as a woman selling bread on that road or pepper, to say, I'm going out today, I want to buy 20 naira insurance cover in case anything happens. So once we can actually understand our environment and develop product that suits our own environment, not copying from anywhere, we must have our own homegrown strategy to actually address our challenges, our major challenges. If you look at the banks we have here today, the banks doing very well are actually the local banks. And if you also look at the insurance industry, the company doing very well. They're actually being driven by local people. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I just want to add one or two things to that. The question I had you talking about what can we learn from the South African market. And like you know, the penetration rate in South Africa is actually far above global average. The insurance penetration rate in South Africa is about 10-11%, as against 6-7%, which is global average. And I remember sometime in 1994, I was watching a documentary when South Africa actually after Mandela was released from prison and they came back to the African Union and all of that. And so this documentary, they were interviewing some South Africans, and they were asking them questions. They asked one particular one, that's what caught my interest. What do you have to say coming to Africa, become part of the AU and all of that? And he said very arrogantly, he said, look, we are not part of this mess called Africa. It's just by geographical location we found ourselves. We're not part of this space called, we're not part of the mess called Africa. But that was instructive. So in the light of that, I can tell you straight away that South Africa is operating in a different world altogether, even in terms of insurance. And so there's quite a number of things that we can learn from them. You find out that South Africa alone control about 70% of the total insurance penetration in Africa. South Africa alone control over 70%. Now, of course, if you look at the top 6 countries that has huge insurance penetration, they are still part of the countries you mentioned, like Zimbabwe, Kenya, that still have some whites in that place. Some few years ago, in one of the companies I worked, we were having an NPR session, and we were looking at some of our branches that were not doing too well. And one of our directors looked at it, and he said, why are some of these branches in a particular geographical region not doing too well? And he said, okay, you head of strategy, go and carry out the research for me. Why is insurance not selling in this part of the country? And we carry out, because a lot of people were trying to say in that meeting that, okay, because of religion, that is why people are not buying. Yes, Nigeria is a very religious country. In fact, from the presentation we had earlier on, we found out that we are very religious and we tell you God is my insurance. And of course, that is part of the reason why a number of people are not buying insurance. And so, that assignment gave me an insight to find out that religion is really not the reason why people are not buying insurance, like some persons are trying to make us believe. We found out that Malaysia, which is one of the largest Islamic countries in the world, the insurance penetration in Malaysia is very huge. And if you bring it even closer to Africa, you find out that the whole of North Africa, be it Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, Egypt, they have a higher penetration rate than Nigeria. So what we are saying in all of this is that the major proportion of that growth in South Africa is life. It's life. Their life is bigger than their general business. So if you look at Nigeria as against Nigeria, we just looked at the data and we found out that for 2022, Nigeria did about 726 billion in terms of total gross premium income. Within that figure, life did about 43%. Life did about 43% as against 57% of general business. So life is low. If you look at Nigerian insurance space today, there are about 13 life companies as against about 27 general companies. If you look at these life companies, how is their performance? Those of us who are into research and you know data, you can see how these are. So we have to go back to the drawing board, like he said, to begin to appreciate the benefit of insurance, which is the core of our conversation today. We need to begin to appreciate the role insurance plays in an economy, begin to see the value that insurance plays, and begin to buy insurance. A number of people don't have any form of insurance, except for group life, which is compulsory for a number of people who work in organizations. They don't have any form of insurance. They don't have any form of insurance. I was in a meeting where the consultant was speaking to us, and he was telling us how the need for us to grow our strategy, how we need to grow our products. At the end of the day, we threw a question to the consultant. He said, sir, do you have insurance? Do you have a motor? And he drives a Lexus Jeep. We were shocked to find out that he has a third party for that. So my indirect response to your question, we need to go back to the drawing board. You talked about awareness creation. To begin to create the needed awareness on the benefit of insurance. That is how it is done in South Africa. They have insurance policies for individuals, for every, you can't put a car on the road. I just gave you the data for number of vehicles on Nigerian roads. Just less than 25% or thereabout has any form of insurance. And within that data is just third party. It's just third party. So we need to go back to the drawing board. We need to begin to appreciate the value of insurance. It is only then we are going to begin to grow and do what South Africa is doing. As of today, South Africa is operating at a far different, their percentage is far above global average in terms of insurance penetration. But we are happy that There are opportunities like the MD has also said, there is a number of opportunities in the Nigerian insurance market. And it is those opportunities that we need to take advantage of our population. Our population is a huge market, ordinarily. It's a huge market, but unfortunately, it's not reflecting as we have desired it. We are optimistic that with conferences like this and with the knowledge that is being espoused, that people will begin to appreciate the value of insurance, buy insurance, and of course, it will help education to go far higher than what it is today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Right now, we have come to the end of this panel. I'm so sorry. We can't take your questions. But if you have any questions, though, you can still write it down and give it to whoever it is you want to answer that question. Thank you so much for being good listeners. And thank you for being my able panelists. Please, let's put our hands together for them and myself as well. It's not easy. And thank you for listening. I'm happy that you paid rapt attention because I didn't hear anybody whisper, which is beautiful. Thank you so much. It means we're not boring. Thank you, and thank you.
Okay, for photographs, please, we would like to invite the editor of Business Day, Mr. Tayo Fagbole, and the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer for Business Day, Mrs. Ijoma Ude, for photographs. Also, we would like to invite Mr. Rotimi Ogunleye, the ED Technical, Old Mutual Insurance, representing the keynote speaker for this photograph, please. Thank you. Before I invite our next panel, there's actually a question that I have in mind. And it's a question that many young people always ask. Young people, when you speak to them about insurance, they think insurance is boring. They think they don't have any business with insurance. They think that's what's in it for them. So I want to ask this question to the audience. One person that can answer this question on how to make young people much more interested and involved in insurance. I think there's somebody there. Wow. Okay.
Hello, everyone. So before the panel ended, I wanted to ask a question, and it was around what you just asked. So I would go with technology. Before technology was adopted in Nigeria, there is a lot of work that went into it. There were conferences. This year alone, there has been more than over 50 conferences that tech people have held. And that is how people were able to embrace technology. And I think insurance should also do the same. Are there conferences are there insurance conferences that in these conferences people talk about insurance, the benefits, how as a youth or Gen Z, how you can get insurance for yourself, how you don't have to wait till you are old, what are the things that you can insure? What are the benefits for insurance? I think if there are events like that insurance industry hosts, I think it will go a long way to help people, just like the tech people did, and people were able to embrace technology.
Thank you. She's answered the question, and also she's still asking a question. So I hope that with the next panel, we'll be able to answer this question. So on this note, I'd like to welcome on stage our next panelist and our moderator herself. Let me just do brief introductions for them. Our next panel will be all about discussing sustainable development goals in insurance. And on this panel, we've got three amazing individuals. We've got Mr. Adeduro Ademayowa, FCA, and the MD, Tangerine General Insurance Limited. We've also got Mrs. Abimbola Tiamiyu, the Registrar and CEO, Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria. We've also got, last but not least, Ms. Rashidat Adebisi, the Chief Client Officer, AXA Mansard Insurance PLC. And I would like to invite our moderator on stage. She will be doing the full introductions for our brilliant panelists. I would like to invite on stage Miss Eniola, Business Days reporter. Welcome on stage.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Very, very excited for this particular panel. So I'll be inviting my panelists in no particular order, Mrs. Abimbola Tiamiyu. She has a career that spans over 2 decades in the insurance sector, culminating in her role as a registrar and CEO of the Chartered Institute of Nigeria. Beginning as an underwriter at the Great Nigeria Insurance PLC, she climbed the ranks through her dedication and expertise. Tiamiyu holds a bachelor in mathematics, a master's in actuarial science, and another master's in risk management. Please join me in clapping for Mrs. Tiamiyu Abimbola. Yeah. When the other panel was going on, I was like, 2 males. But I'm particularly excited for this one because we have 2 females. So I'm inviting my next panelist, Mrs. Rasheedat Adebisi. She's a seasoned financial services industry professional. She currently serves as the Chief Client Officer at AXA Mansard Insurance PLC. With over 2 decades of experience, she's held key roles including Chief Distribution Officer and Chief Financial Officer. I expect that we'll be clapping by now. Our expertise spans retail solutions, accounting practices, and compliance. Please welcome Mrs. Rasheedat Adebisi to the... And to the only man that will be joining this panel, Mr. Ademayowa Adeduro is a seasoned insurance practitioner and a corporate turnaround specialist. He serves as the managing director of Tangerine General Insurance Limited. He successfully led the company through divestment and acquisition, aligning it with new minimum capital requirements for general insurance in Nigeria. Previously, he transformed Anchor Insurance Company Limited into a national international player. Please, let's clap now. Significantly increasing its asset base and pioneering innovative insurance products. Please welcome Mr. Ademayowa Adeduro. Welcome, sir. Yes, sir. So I did not introduce myself. My name is Eniola Olatunji. I'm a business day journalist. I cover the banking and finance sector. So this is very, very interesting for me. Thank you. Do we all... So, Ms. Rashid, I'm going to... Will I step on your toes? Because I just need to mention this. There are 3 Unilag alumni here. I had to mention it as an Akokite myself.
It's an insurance cult. Huh?
Yes, so Mrs. Abimbola is an alumni, and Mr. Ademayowa is also an alumni, and as you would expect, I'm an alumni. But not to leave her out, she attended the University of Lincoln. Very great school, but you know I had to.
It's okay, you're allowed. It seems there's something about Unilag and insurance in Nigeria, but we're breaking the barriers and removing it totally because it should be for all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there more Akokites in the
I
audience?
suspect so. Special insurance.
Okay. So this panel the panel conversation is on insurance and SDGs. And so, what is SDG? SDG is Sustainable Development Goals, and it was brought up by the United Nations in 2015. There are 17 SDG goals, but of the 17, there are 9 of them that speaks to insurance, and they are zero hunger, good health, well-being, gender equality, decent work, economic growth, and industry and innovation. So the SDG goal is a blueprint that provides peace and prosperity for the planet and the people. That's what the SDG goal is about. So today, my able panelists will be giving us a great insight on what the insurance sector, how the insurance sector is going to help the SDG meet its goals. So to my first question, I'll be asking Mrs. Tiamiu. All right. So ma'am, how can the insurance sector contribute to achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, particularly in areas such as poverty alleviation, health, education, and environmental sustainability?
Yeah, thank you very much. Morning, everyone. Is it morning? Yes, it's still morning. So how can we as an insurance industry support the SDG, support UNDP and the nation to achieve the SDG goals as it relates to poverty, as it relates to health, as it relates to education and climate?
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Yeah, the first thing is as it relates to, let's start from the poverty, because when hunger and poverty is removed, you can do every other thing. The major thing is insurance can actually support my opinion, can actually support the agri sector in developing agricultural products. And I'm not talking of agricultural insurance products, as in bringing up food, in bringing up things that would make people have something to do. I'm talking of the masses, not those of us in this room. Those of us in this room, yes, you think that, oh, it's normal, you want to eat, you go to the canteen and you pick food. I'm talking of people that cannot afford to go to the canteen, but they can actually say, oh, let me grow something at my backyard, let me do this farming, let me do this. So insurance must be able to target those kind of people to see how do we support the nation to increase productivity as it relates to food, small businesses, SMEs, because we're looking at poverty. When you remove poverty at the mass level, those of us in this room will be very comfortable. I'm sure a lot of us in this room, we have like 10, 15, 20 people every month that we send something to, money. If they were self-sufficient, maybe the 10, 15, 20 will reduce to 5. And those 5 will be core dependents that by culture we have to, your parents, your siblings, not people that do not have and you just have to support. So in that way, insurance industry can actually target the masses and aim particularly towards increasing food production in the nation. That will bring down a lot of dependencies on other people like us in this room. As it relates to climate, we can actually look at developing products or developing things that would assess or that would assist the nation in bringing down climate risk. I'm not going to talk insurance products now. I'm talking of us looking globally. How do we help the nation to reduce climate risks? The first thing is, first of all, we also have to understand that whether we like it or not, the climate is changing. So we have to, in our individual spaces, support things that promote climate to be good. That means in our individual spaces and organization, we need to start looking at the fact that, oh, are we doing enough green things? Are we protecting the climate? Do I really need to print these things? I'm happy that at least the 3 of us that came up, we didn't come up with paper. Yes, because before we would have printed some things that you want to look at. But the first question we need to start asking ourselves, do we really need to print that thing? Because the climate is being affected by all those things, whether we accept or not. As it relates to education, it's not enough to say, let us develop education insurance products. We have to actively support education, not just insurance education. Let's make sure that every child that grows, is your company adopting a school? Is your company or supporting a school in a particular community, maybe in your village? All of us were not Lagos State indigents. Are we supporting education from the states that we came from our local government? Are we ensuring that people that are supposed to be in school are actually in school? How can we do that? Our companies can decide to say, oh, in this my state or in this local government, we are going to make sure that all students that are supposed to write WAEC and cannot afford it, indigenous students, will pay for their WAEC. You are not telling them, come and do insurance. But in doing that, you would also sell insurance along the way. but you have to consciously promote education in order to make sure that the SDG goals are achieved. Once again, we are not promoting insurance only. We are saying education for all. And the last one was food.
Yes.
Was it food?
Health.
Health. Apart from health products, selling insurance health products, we have to find a way to make sure, because a lot of us will say, oh, the HMOs, they no longer report to insurance, so we should leave them. But we're the ones still providing insurance coverage for them. We have to find a way that we can make health to be accessible to all Nigerians. And how do we do that? We can partner with state governments, local governments, consciously do something that will make health accessible. If it's to say, oh, we want to supply anti-malaria drugs, or we want to provide immunization to everybody, or for the children, or we want to support, oh, there's this new immunization that they are giving to women now, as in young girls, not women, and it's a new thing. They didn't take it when they were younger. I've forgotten the name. And when they sold it to what? Yes. We can decide that, oh, that's what we want to partner with, because it's new. A lot of our generation didn't have it. So when my daughters told me, I said, leave them, want to today, that they've come again. But I told them, go and take it, because the Azus you people are facing in your generation is not what we faced in our generation. So I don't know, maybe they've done research and you really have to take it. So we need to start supporting such drives and not just saying that we want to provide insurance coverage for them. When companies consciously do all these things, then we would be helping the government and UNDP to make sure that the SDG goals are achieved in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Because I like you spoke to each point, because really the SDG goals are about poverty and all that. It's just how to make people's life better and the planet's too. So, sir, to Mr. Maiwa, what are some of the innovative insurance products or initiatives that are directly support specifically the SDG goals?
Yeah. Afternoon.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Really talking about innovative products, I want to position in the sense that we need to look beyond, just like Madam Tiamiyu was saying, we need to look beyond the immediate benefit of that product to the particular insurance company. But I'm looking at products that could create that type of environment where people will live peaceably, and then the goal of the SDG will be achieved. And really, if you look at product like that, you won't be talking about profit. Because most of the product we have, the intention is actually for profit. The intention is actually to make, to make gain. So, but we have quite a number of products that have been developed in the insurance industry. Take, for instance, the education. We have the child education, because we know that there is a synergy, or there's a collaboration between poverty, illiteracy, lack of education, and all of those things. They are Siamese twins. Where you see thick illiteracy, don't go further, you will see poverty reigning, So we have products very cheap, that is affordable, that parents should buy. But I often think it's the type of environment we create that don't allow things to run very well. And I will tell you an example that I was in Australia recently to go and see a daughter. And I was shocked that the schools there make it compulsory for them to insure their laptop, little thing like this, So we've got to a level where we need to see poverty eradication beyond the fact that, okay, we are making money out of it. We need to see it as something that is a communal thing. The government tends to benefit, the society benefits. Of course, the insurance company will benefit too. So we have a product like loss of employment insurance. It has to do with SDG goal, eradication of poverty. We have quite a number of other products We have product for agric insurance, for peasant farmers. We have such product. But how well are people informed about this product? And how well are we taking it beyond the fact that we want to make profit out of it? So in terms of products, we have quite a number of products available in the industry that can reduce poverty, that can enhance the development goal. Mind you, SDG goal is just 2030. So we barely have 7 years to run the race. But again, when you look at it, are we running the race well? We are far behind. So in terms of product availability, quite a number of products are available, but what we need to do is to see that we are taking the profitability out of it to the back end as the last essence of those products, but to focus on people. Take, for instance, if we create an enabling environment where we uplift 50 million Nigerians out of poverty, that will drive in 1 trillion premium income into the insurance industry. Just a simple arithmetic. Because somebody out of poverty can afford to pay little money and 20,000 naira in a year. He won't know when he pays it. That is 1 trillion naira. Today, with all the struggle, all the thing we are doing, we are yet to. I mean, my colleague here gave a figure last year. We are just about 720 billion naira. With oil and gas, everything, life and general. They just lift 50 million people out of poverty. 1 trillion naira will flow into the industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So this brings me to my next question. You?
The non-Unilag alumni. It's okay, we're here.
Would you forgive me?
It's okay, totally.
So how can partnerships between insurers, the government, NGOs, and other stakeholders accelerate progress towards the end? You already mentioned that elevating poverty would promote insurance, would take it to the next level. So how can this union between government, insurance, and everyone give us accelerate progress towards the SDGs?
Totally. I think the first point is to understand that I think at the earlier panel, and just some comments here today, one of the things you keep hearing is that people don't see insurance in action, right? Because if they see insurance in action, they know the benefits. Someone gave us an example that when the fire happened and people got money back, they started coming to him to buy insurance, right? So it shows that if people see things in action, there's a higher likelihood they're going to use it. If I now bring that back again now to how we can collaborate, people tend to see government in action. So when a fire happens, when a disaster happens, they call on to the government. They don't call an insurer. So there's still the need for education and awareness, as well as the insurers themselves, creating an enabling conversation, starting to drive a lot of awareness to ensure that people know how we add value. I joke sometimes that corporate organizations are the chop and claim out people, because most corporates who are insured in Nigeria that have claims, they get paid. They get, they get compensated and they get sorted out, but they don't make noise about it. They don't discuss it. So that's why they keep writing a check. They can haggle with us, try and reduce the price every year, but they keep doing it for a reason. They are benefiting from it. But the people who are most vulnerable and most exposed are the individuals and the population. And therefore, beyond just working with the corporate and the government, there's a need to, NGOs usually have an initiative that they're driving. So when we bring it all into SDGs, what are we saying really? Sustainability. And sustainability of the individual, of the population. When you look at all the economic challenges we're facing, people's lifestyles are eroding. Middle class is no longer middle class. So when we say poor people can have money, I'm sorry. I don't think people that are poor have money to pay for insurance. There are people that are low income, or lower income, or lowest income that we have now. Because I think we now have new bands, because people keep moving down. And what we need to do is truly to work together to say, look, government, sometimes you need to help people, but you won't be better placed to help because you yourself might need help. And we are experiencing that. So there's a resilience factor that insurers can provide, because we can actually insure the government for risks. Some of them might not be done locally, they can be done internationally. I'll give you an example. Morocco had an earthquake last year. That earthquake that they had, the government of Morocco got payout from France because they insured themselves in case of the earthquake happening. A potential. And they got maybe over 200 I think it's 200 billion euros or something that came towards them, somewhere in that region, that helped them to be able to get people back. So there is a possibility for us as insurers to collaborate with the government to help the government build risk. The example we're testing out in Nigeria is, as an organization now, we're working with Lagos State government with some international funds, right, similar to what an NGO would do, trying to create a pricing model methodologies to insure flood. It's not easy. But you see, the process of insurance requires you creating preventives, right, because you don't insure everything. Part of the insurance is your behavior. Because if you put all your assets in the open, your phone, I'm sure you will not put your phone out there, right? So you keep it in your bag, in something in your pocket. So there's that process of helping them to know how do we prevent ourselves. Then the remaining risk is what we now try to help them reduce. So there is a possibility for us as insurers to help the government to even be resilient themselves. Then there's now collaborating with government to help people, poverty line. You know, some people are not even the poverty line yet. They've just struggled out of it. The cycle, they're out. They're finally good, happy. We have a small business. But guess what happens? An unexpected event happens. And then they go back in there. So insurance, you know, can also help them get back quickly, because some people will say, yeah, one illness away from poverty in our country, or in many countries in the world, by the way, not only in Nigeria. So when you also look at SMEs and small guys who make money every day, if they fall ill, no money that day, no food, no rent. So are there solutions that we can use to work with them in there? And NGOs, because they are raising funds from people who really care about making a difference. They have funds. Insurers can also collaborate with them and the government to create solutions, insurance policies to help them. Because right now, everybody here is an insurer, you know, apart from if you don't have anyone. I think DG mentioned that earlier. Why? When something goes wrong, they call you. Right? They say, please, your wife had a baby. I wonder which wife. Say, oh, our child is ill. You know, that's the Nigerian lingo. So imagine if we are teaching them the ability to put away a small known amount to protect them in case of an unexpected. Because even when you love them and you care, the day they come, there might not be any money in your pocket to assist. Not because you don't want to. But if an insurer already has that, they've got them. You are only going to put the icing on the cake. So that collaboration around teaching, explaining, simplifying. And I like the comment the young lady made earlier. She said, you know, where are all these symposiums and the engagements and the education and the town halls? As an industry, we need to do a lot more about that. Because the more we create that awareness and engagement, but working with the government can be useful because we can go to local governments and do awareness sessions. We can also work with the NGOs because they have funds. Because sometimes the insurers want to do all these things. They've talked about products we have. But the day you are not making money on that product, your ED, your group head, your board will just say, my friend, stop selling this thing, you are eroding value. So what gives them that confidence? Even the regulator is very important in the government side, because if your regulator then encourages you and gives you benefits for being able to protect people from poverty alleviation, from healthcare issues, so that you are encouraging insurers to deploy their capital well, there's a high likelihood that we would be able to make bigger impacts from an SDG perspective. I'll stop here because I see you looking at me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And because you mentioned the case of that country that was able to prevent themselves from the earthquake, I'd like to ask, how do insurance integrate environmental, social? I mean, what roles does insurance play in building resilience to climate change and natural disasters? What are critical aspects of several SDGs?
So you want me to start that?
Yes.
Oh, good. This is a topic I love so much. And the reason for this is that role of an insurer, we're not really one person, an insurer. The insurer itself is a responsible corporate citizen in the first instance, right? Then the insurer provides a service, risk management, resilience management. Then the insurer also is an investor in all of this. So when you look at the insurer from these three aspects, then we start to talk about ESG, because environmental, I think we alluded earlier that on the environmental side of things, there are climate-related issues. It seems very far away, but these days you notice that you can't see any harmattan. The rain comes at any time or the other, so which means that our risks are changing. And so we can deploy our funds to research what are the changing and evolving risks that we're seeing in an environment, because how we're pricing things would change. How can we encourage people to start to buy less, bad energy emitting, all these smoke emitting vehicles? Can we do lower pricing with the regulator for people who are having electric vehicles? Although people crack jokes that when you have an electric car, use generator to charge it one day. But how can we, do that? But we can go back to where we are as an investor. How are we investing our own resources, The editor told us, long-term investments, things like that. Can we invest in things that will help to protect the environment? So we have a responsibility as an insurer to also make sure that as a corporate citizen ourselves, we are taking actions. We're starting to think about paper, paperless. Why must we send a physical policy document to somebody? Is it compulsory? Can we now have it more digitized? But when we digitize it and they get it lost, how do we help them retrieve it quickly? So our own ability to help them retrieve, to make sure that they're doing the right things, is also important for us. So how do we start to reward people for doing the right things? I think there's still a lot to do from research, investment, and all. So when you think about us as insurers, how many products do we have? People are talking about cyber risk and all, but there are also risks around, social risk, inclusion, solutions around that space. Really creating insurance policies, 100 naira, 500 naira, 200 naira, micro risk protection. So there's still us creating solutions that can help from a social side, and help us from a sustainable standpoint, that can help people manage risk. People at the lower income, they don't want a full policy. They only want to protect one risk. I've seen us create like a malaria product. That was just enough for certain people. I don't need a full health policy because our issue typically in our area is malaria. And what can I do with a malaria product? I prevent them from buying bad medicine, fake drugs. I prevent them from self-medicating because they get a real test done for free. So what are those things we will do there? And I think lastly, from a governance perspective, still comes back to, all our behaviors, following the rules. Nigeria is seen as an interesting country, but it's not about the country, it's about how we make a change individually. So I think we need to put our money where our mouth is. This is how we can make a difference. But I'm sure that.
Thank you so much. Does any other person want to speak to it? Because you're really interested in it.
Yes, in addition to that, we also need to, as insurers, also improve our knowledge level because you cannot give what you don't have. So a lot of us still need to go and research and understand how these things actually work. She mentioned 3 phases of insurance. We're investors, we're corporate citizens, and we also need to make sure that we put our mouth or our money where our mouth is, or either way. So we need individually and corporately to also research. So I just want to task those of us in this room, let us do a little bit of more research. How do I impact and add my own contribution to making the SDG goals more realistic for my people in the country? Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Mr. Why, what do you want to?
I think it's all well said. I think the focus should be on collaboration. She mentioned about the fact that government need to see this as a business that must be achieved. Because if you give incentive, for instance, for people that are providing something like that, the benefit will not come immediate. But if government give incentive, that will encourage the investor to see opportunity for it. Incentive for people that are creating products that will eliminate malaria, that help to create education for people, that help the society to move very well. That create that incentive, that create that opportunity for us to see things in a social perspective rather than for profit perspective.
Thank you so much. I hope we are all following and we have our questions written down. Don't forget that we can ask questions at the end of this panel. So to my next question is to Mrs. Tiamiyu. Please, how do insurers integrate environmental and social governance considerations into their investment decisions and risk management processes to support sustainability development?
That's an I one, but I would start off by saying that the best and easiest way is for us to, first of all, find out of these 17 goals, which one do my company want to actually have impact on and integrate into our process? Because like she said, only about 9 affect insurance. Out of this 9, which one do I want to focus on? And in what aspect do I want to make it a priority for my organization? For instance, if I want to focus on no poverty, that means I'm looking at, as an insurance organization, apart from ensuring that we do any other thing, develop products or support my community in such a way that I would reduce the poverty level. If I'm looking at climate issues, I will look at ways to incorporate it into my investment and into my core functions how I can reduce climate risk changes. So the first thing that would occur to me is, as an insurance organization, what products can I develop that would help me to achieve these goals and make sure that my investment does not go to ruins, because I'm a practicing insurer. In doing that, I have to understand that, oh, there must be a research and development department or unit that can handle it well. Because if I just say, oh, I want to integrate it into my portfolio, I want to protect my fund, I want to invest, and I don't do enough research to see how particularly I can do this as a company. Remember in the first session, they mentioned the fact that if you just import funeral products from Ghana because they are blacks and because it sells in Ghana, and you bring it to Nigeria and you don't consider your own peculiar situation, it won't work. So that research and development is very, very important. How would this then impact on my organization? How it will impact on my organization is different from how it will impact on his organization, because we have different risk profiling, we have different risk appetites, we have different corporate goals and vision. So we have to look at that first and say, oh, my research and my research development, do this for me. Like Johnson said, he said something that, oh, he was given a task to find out why do people in this area do not buy insurance. And they now found out that it wasn't religion, it was just the fact that every other thing. So that every other thing we need to know, we'll now incorporate it into our individual processes. So we cannot give a blanket solution to say this cap fits all. Each organization must do their research. Each organization must do things that would fit into their corporate goals and vision. But one major inhabitant that we have is data. Because if you want to do the research and you don't have access to data, how do you now move forward? So what I would propose for organizations is we have to look at international data and then localize it. How the actuaries and the research people do that is their headache. Because I will not talk to that. But without data, we may not be able to achieve what we want to achieve as by incorporating it into our investment. Lastly, with or without data, we can actually look at what the youth want. There was, in the first session, they said those between below 35 and 35 years and below, that they are not really insuring. So we can decide as an organization, that's a quick win for us. We already know that. What can I do to get the 35 below into my organization that would help improve the SDG goals, that would help me to achieve my target as an investor, an investing company, and we quickly see, oh, they like mobile things, they like freebies, let's give them freebies. By the time we bring them in, we'll now start telling them to be paying for this, paying for that. So I think those are some ways that companies can actually target investing and improving the SDG goals. Thank you.
Thank you so much, for that, because I was going to ask how would they include the youth, because but thank God you mentioned freebies, because we do like freebies. So, sir, what are the key barriers or challenges that insurers face in incorporating SDGs into their operations, and how can these obstacles be overcome?
Yeah, quite a whole mouthful of barriers. But they are not unsurmountable in any way. And the first thing has to do with the fact that we are under pressure of meeting the targets, board targets. We have the pressure, the regulatory pressure, and then they need to meet the competitive challenge. I mean, if somebody is paying so much of a salary to his colleague somewhere, you want to meet up so that you don't have your organization empty up. So we have all of these as challenges facing the capacity of insurance company to invest more in SDG goals. But again, to me, I think it's more of a collaboration. Meeting SDG goal is more of a collaboration. For instance, we're talking of no poverty. Is there a way we can come together and say, okay, organizations that are offering food, manufacturing food, can they have some special rate that encourage them to reduce the cost of those food in the market? Education institution, can we come with a different rate, for instance, to enhance capacity or encourage those people offering education to do that? Can we have a rate for students Can we have a rate for teachers in primary school? Because this is critical in terms of Millennium Development, the SDG. So we need to have all of those in place. I think, for instance, the ESG, quite a number of us are doing well. But I'm not too sure, for instance, in this room now, we are not compliant. We are all carrying bottle, disposable bottle. So quite a number of us are doing well there. But we need to do more in encouraging clean environment, no zero to disposable plastic bottles. Quite a number of things that we can achieve to enhance achieving the goal of SDG. So, but by and large, I will zero in on the fact that it must be on collaboration. And I will take a practical example. If you see the achievement of CACOVID during the COVID era, you find out that there is no single institution that can summon that type of resources that they put together. No single corporate entity. But with the fact that a lot of the bank, corporate institutions comes together, they achieve that. And come back to the home in insurance industry. We're able to pull resources together and ensure that we offer life insurance to nurses attending to COVID patients during those eras. And that goes a long way in solving that problem. So things like that, it must be a thing that corporate institutions, government, NGOs are encouraging, and they are giving awards to it, rather than celebrating people. Well, it's good to make the billions. It's good to make, but eventually you realize that we don't win this game by single institution declaring billions of naira. We win this game, we eliminate poverty, we increase the level of education or illiteracy in the system by collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So I hope we're writing our questions down because I'm almost done with mine. But I would like to ask everyone on the panel, looking ahead, what do you envision as the future role of insurance in advancing the global agenda of sustainable development? So, and I'm sure everyone is going to speak to this, starting from Yuma. Yes, ma'am.
Non-Unilag. So, I think the future, insurance, one of my favorite sayings is the future is very bright. Not just because, it's, of course, a positive mindset. And many people that work with me, they know I love that saying. So the future shouldn't be a risk. So when I think about insurance and sustainable goals, which is sustainable development, I see insurance as that partner on, the resilience factor, helping people, giving them confidence to move forward. So you're a corporate organization. You don't need to worry. You're just expanding as is needed, protecting people, empowering people, employing people in your communities, in new communities, because you know that if any unfortunate event happens, you have an insurance company that's got your back that will ensure that, the claims are managed, the truck falls turns on the road, that's quickly sorted and paid, somebody picks it up, tows it, gets it repaired, and you just get back running. You're not worrying about the cash flow issue because you've been protected. So I see insurance as that partner around sustainability, because as organizations grow and as they do well, it means that the communities where they are in will do well. Why are we upset sometimes with people that are sort of extremely wealthy, that are taking their money abroad? We want them to invest in our country. We want them to do, create, an environment that is more enabling. Of course, we can say that's the government's role as well, but the government can't do it alone because they need organizations to action it, to open it up. I'll also say to you that, insurance can ensure that people quickly recover as well, individuals, not just corporate organizations. So if you fall ill, you're not worrying about, I don't have cash right now because my client has not paid. I gave him an instrumental plan. You have a health insurance policy. You get to the hospital, you are treated, you get well quickly. You're not treating yourself with herbs at home. You're not doing self-diagnosis. You quickly get, treated. You can, be a partner digitally. You call your doctor, do telemedicine. So looking at the digital new tools that you can use to insure yourself. You buy a new asset, you are still in the car shop, you use your phone. So looking at the digital tools, you basically just scan your vehicle, you get a price or value of your car, the price, the premium, you click a payment, you want an instrumental plan, because the insurer has already collaborated with banks, with financial institutions, they can offer you insurance there and then. You don't even need to bring anything out of your pocket, because with a click of a button, you are able to get yourself protected as an individual, as somebody who is wealthy, and as someone who is growing. So when you look at how we're also empowering farmers, how we're empowering the food chain, the whole value chain of logistics. Logistics is going to be really key for us in the country. As infrastructure opens up, as we have trains, as we're able to get people to, fly food or export abroad or have cash crops, how do we ensure that along that value chain we're there? So we'll be that resilience factor, being there with individuals, corporate, and even the government itself, because by creating solutions for the government, then the government is not worrying that something was not in the budget, because that unexpected event is already protected in itself. So I'm very positive about, the future of risks, because insurers are evolving to make sure that we have new skills to address any sort of new risk coming up, because we're also helping to invest and drive research in those areas. So that's for me.
You can see that the future is indeed bright.
Okay. I totally agree with the Rashidat. And I want to make bold to say that we aren't going anywhere in achieving SDG without a focus and a particular attention to the development of insurance. Just flip it. If insurance has the assets that banks are sitting on today, I can assure you it's not this type of development that we have in the country that we have currently. If you look at a number of those developed economies and see the level of development of insurance, you realize that insurance is critical to it. So in achieving the sustainable development goal, insurance is pivotal to that. Insurance needs to play a very significant role, because insurance has a way of, insurance is an enabler in every sector of the economy. We've got to a level where people insure even a part of their body, in some advanced country, not to talk of insuring their life. So I think insurance has a critical role in all the cycle of the SDG. Insurance has a very pivotal role to play. And insurance has a critical role in the sense that every aspect of it, all the risk elements associated, will be exposed by insurance. And then action will be taken on it. And therefore, the goal will be achieved. Take, for instance, what I just mentioned, that 50 million Nigerians out of poverty. You have ₦1 trillion that will be pumped into the economy as investment outlet automatically. Thank you.
Thank you so much. But before we go to Mrs. TMU, we can send our questions to Mr. Shegun. He's waving his hand at the back. So please, if you have any questions, just write it in a paper and he'll be there to collect it from you. Thank you so much. So, Ma.
Thank you. In addition to what the two earlier panelists have said, I would just say I will add two more very briefly. And the first one has to do is we cannot do it as individual companies. We have to collaborate together and make sure that if we're going to have any impact, any positive impact, significant impact on achieving the SDG goals, we have to do it together, like maybe NIA, NCRIB, ELAN, and all of us together as a body. Then the second one is, even if all of us come together as a body and we don't have the backing and the support of the regulator, we may not go anywhere. Because even if we do the best things and we are facing this way and the regulator is going this way, it's not going to work. The regulator is the liaison officer between us and the government. So whatever we have to do in partnership with regulatory concerns, we can achieve very great milestones. But in my opinion, without these two, we may not be able to go far, deep, and wide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have questions for them? Do you have questions? Okay, before we end this panel, I have to represent as a Gen Z. Now we see banks and fintech platforms come up with savings and all of that for at least young people can buy into. So what are some retail insurance products that you have for people my age and my salary brackets?
We have for even younger. I can assure you. I'm happy to start. So insurers also actually have, amazing products. The most interesting thing is that when you buy a banking product, you're only protecting your money alone. You're not protecting an event. So if an event happens, for example, God forbid, right? I know people don't like to hear this in Nigeria, but if an accident happened or you had some emergency due to healthcare for maybe yourself or your family member, you would take that your savings and you use to pay for it, right? Yeah. So insurers actually have, savings products that also have what they call protection products that will protect from health if that's what you needed. That would also protect you from, unfortunate incidents, to make sure that you don't go and spend your savings first. You actually get the insurance benefit first before you need to use that funds. So we have, term policies that's for a fixed period of time. It could be 3 years, so you can buy, maybe you have a target goal that you're looking forward to. So we do have insurance policies. I'm trying my best not to mention the products that I'm selling because here we're talking about, you asked generally about the industry, but we do have, savings products that also have things that we call it, living benefits that have benefits for you. And you don't need to have children to have those products. And by the way, you can actually get an education policy for yourself, because who says you don't want to go and do an MBA at New York University Stern or MIT sometime in the future? So sometimes we've been thinking that education is just about people that have children. I think there is education for ourselves. So there are some of the insurance companies, including us, who have products like this where you can put away target savings and all that would really help you achieve those goals. But I don't know if you want to mention.
Yeah, I mean, like I did mention before, I try to avoid equally mentioning products. I think maybe perhaps we're not, and that's talking to all of us, yes, we're not doing enough awareness on our product. We even have life insurance product for 1 year that you just buy just for 1 year. If there's no event, you go and cash your fund. But if there's event, like Rasheedat mentioned, it goes a long way to help the family that won't leave behind, And then we have quite a number of products too that as little as 20 naira per day that people can subscribe to. In some other clime, I think my brother mentioned about Impreza in Kenya. Through your phone, they can charge you. All of those products are available in the market. It's just because of the perception of people. Once they hear about insurance, they believe that we are out to outsmart them. It's not like that again. I have my brother here who is a broker, a renowned broker. They know how much claim they collect on behalf of individual corporate body, even government. This is the government insure because they've not realized that they are better off insuring those assets rather than pulling money from the common resources and deploy it to go and resolve problems. So all we need is that awareness. We've seen a number of building collapse all over Nigeria, and you find out that there's no insurance. We mentioned about the NSAS the other time. How many of those NSAS? Maybe barely about 10 or 15% of them has proper insurance in place. But we have this in place. It's just the need for it. And we have one culture. That's the culture they don't have in some other client where insurance has developed. We have culture to say, okay, Lord, let's leave it. They call it Amua Olorun. Where it is God that God doesn't bring evil. People should own up to their liability. You can't hit somebody on the road, you damage somebody's property, and you are begging, you are prostrating. There's insurance for it. We have this. And that's how we can eliminate poverty. Because a man that his leg is broken and he has no money to fix the leg back, his economic value is depreciated for that period of time that is going to be on bed. Thank you.
Yeah, for the Gen Zs, you can insure your phones, your tablets, your Brazilian hair, your shoes. All you just have to do is just Google insurance companies in Nigeria. You will see all of them. Click any one of them. You will see the various products that they have for your generation. So we have lots and lots of products that meet your needs and aspiration at any point in time. Thank you.
You talked about savings. There's healthcare that also has, free gym coverage and massage as well. So you should be speaking to the right insurance.
I'll definitely look into that. So my question came in while we were doing this. So it says, is the money market an insurance product? Why is it not promoted, publicized, or advertised?
Okay, I'm not sure if that is specifically to one company or the other. But I'm happy to talk about. So money market in itself is a type of asset management product. So insurers invest the premium we collect in investment assets like money market. right? So money market is similar, but mostly it's a better return because individuals can buy into a money market fund. You don't need big amount of money. With some money market funds, you can come in with 5K, 10K, 50K, and you get the best possible rates at maybe if that fund is operating at 19% now, you access 19%. But if you went to a bank, for you to access high interest rates, you need to put high amount of money down. So they might tell you that when you bring 100 million, you will get 15%. When you give 150, like that, they will graduate you upwards. But the asset management money market fund, we also have one similarly. From 2,000 naira, you can enter and you can get the best possible rates. So it helps that, but it doesn't have insurance. But you can actually then add insurance on top of that. There are some offerings where you're able to then combine, and there are also some other investment policies that you can have in insurance that also has health benefits, life insurance that comes free with it as well. So please feel free to ask closer if I'm available after.
Okay, we will take one of them. We have two questions. Please, you can take the mic and ask your question.
Thank
Sustainable, we don't want paper.
All right, so I was just typing on my phone. I said there is this analogy that says that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the next best time is now. Now, with regards to SGD plans, what's the role or the plan of the insurance industry for the upcoming generation? And I'm talking about the guys in primary school, secondary school, and all of that. Thank you.
I would like to start that. Yeah, the roles we have now is, as at date, we can tell you that insurance companies have started adopting schools. So you have a company, XYZ. They have adopted a secondary school. We've not gone to primary yet, but they've adopted a secondary school whereby they go and teach insurance. They pay the teachers. They get people from the industry to actually teach the right concept of insurance. And we did not just do it only in Lagos, it's also in Abuja, and we also encourage a lot of companies, and when I say we, that's the Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria, we encourage companies that, oh, if you are from Ondo State, you are from Edo State, you are from Niger State, go to your state and replicate it there. So it's not only in the Southwest where the head offices are. So that's how to catch them from secondary school. Now at the university level, we also make sure that when they are having their financial week, not just insurance week, that means the business administration department or anything, we go in there and bring notable people in insurance that they can look up to in the society, most likely maybe an alumnus of that school, to talk to them to say, see, even if you are not in insurance and you do this, you can actually come in as an agent. We lecture them, and we make sure that during their student union week, insurance is also represented. Also, the NCRIB, during the trade fair, they actually have a day dedicated for insurance. So everybody that comes in, whether small, medium, old, we talk to them about insurance, we preach the message of insurance, and we make sure that we try to catch them from young. We have companies that does quizzes for secondary schools. So where the awareness is gradually coming up, it's not as best as before, but it's actually coming up. And NIA is also doing something on radio during during time that they will be in school, that they can actually get the children to also have a little understanding of insurance. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think I can add that I think there's still a lot of work that the industry is doing to start to contribute to even curriculum building. So at the university level, for example, the actuarial school in Unilag, there's a lot of work going on to try and make sure that the skills being taught are fit for purpose. The industry is actually collaborating with the department to get also, some foreign certifications for some of these guys so that they can also get some exemptions. We can make sure that the quality of teaching, the skills they are learning will be very useful and important and applicable immediately they graduate. There are things that are being done at secondary school. I mean, I've been for business day sessions, personally going to present to, I think myself and my colleague have been to Iju Grammar School and different places, junior and high school, to talk on. Some of them invite us for their business day events, where they are, I think it's Department of a Society of Business Students, commercial students. They will come, you bring you in and you talk to them about awareness of this, insurance. And so those are new things that we're doing. But I think there's still more for us to do. Perhaps, digitizing insurance, creating, easier ways for them to learn, because this generation has missed seeing insurance in action, being educated on insurance. So the behavior is in there. As an industry, we need to invest in behavioral science and impact it. But to have access to those skill sets, I think only the FMCG guys have done it well enough. I think that this is where, I mean, I have an ambition that it's something we have to do collaboratively, as it's been mentioned before. It's not one company. As an industry together, we need to invest in research, in understanding what the new behavior trends are, and then truly intervene and start to take action and invest over multiple years to ensure that the younger generation coming up understand insurance. Our own actions will make sure they're seeing it in action, so that when something happens, they say insurance paid billions. It's not only government that paid money, you know, and also allow them to then learn, even in simpler ways, from their devices, games, you know, gamifying things. These are the things that we still need to do, but we are not doing yet. Well, I think there's a lot of companies who are very focused right now, and, you know, the association, the CII, and college are very clear around how we have to work as we move into the future.
Thank you so much. So to the last question.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So my question is, I have it written down. What's the plan to change the bad narrative that insurance has in Nigeria? Because when you say insurance has not penetrated, I think that's because the next person to me is saying I did insurance and the claims process I wasn't paid. I think that's the thing that is driving the acceptance of insurance in Nigeria. So what is the industry doing to help that narrative, to change that narrative?
One of the things we're doing is to have brand ambassadors. That's at the industry level. So we're looking at making known, respectable people not from the insurance space, from Nigeria. Maybe just pick somebody and make that person the brand ambassador. But more importantly is to get insurance companies to publicize their claims payments, because we're not singing our praises enough. You will see a company come up and say, Q1, we paid 1 billion claims. And you will wonder, did they pay it to the space? Nobody is coming out to testify that, I actually received the premium. Like she said, the corporate organizations, they just clean our mouth.
Chop and clean mouth.
Chop and clean mouth. They are getting the claims, but they are not publicizing it. So if they refuse to sing our praises, we have to start singing it ourselves. So that's some of the things that we're doing now, publicizing the claims, making it known to people. The ambassador thing would have started this January, but we couldn't get it sorted out at the insurance committee level. I'm sure once it's sorted out, it will be publicized. We're also trying to see if we can do skits and release it to the public. So we'll do some skits on insurance, let people know that insurance work, and actually get live beneficiaries of insurance claim to talk for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. This is how insurance has impacted me. This is this, and we'll now publicize it.
Yeah, I think companies themselves have to share testimonials. So many more of us are speaking to our clients to please give us a testimonial. On some companies' websites, you would see some testimonials about the experience. But I think we need to expand our scope beyond, traditional advertising mediums, and really, really get in there, because we're very regulated as an industry, because we're a financial service provider. There are limits to some of the things we can do and how we can share information, but we have to adapt very quickly to evolve into that. But beyond that is also the regulator itself enforcing the rules that we have, because no one should not be paid. I mean, when I first came into the industry, not so long ago, it seems many years now, it was the marketing vibe was, we pay claims. That's no longer the point now. Everybody pays claim, but the question is, do they pay well? Do they pay the right amount? Do you even know what you bought? So, simplifying our communication, I think, is the last point I'll add, so that people understand what is covered and what is not, because we're not simple enough. We tell someone you have car insurance, but it doesn't cover you from, civil commotion, from strike, from riot. Did you know that? Maybe not. So they put something SRCC. What does that mean? Do you know what SRCC? I have bankers who don't know what excess means. And we just assume everybody knows it. And when the claim happens, then you're now disappointed. So sometimes it's also about the understanding, because people are not reading. So it means we have to simplify, create, explainer videos. Things of this nature are things that I believe the industry is working towards, and some of us as companies as well. Because sometimes the story, when you ask the person clearly, they will tell you, it's my friend's cousin. Not necessarily them sometimes, but definitely we're not telling our stories, and we're not really out there. And that's something the industry has to really invest in.
Again, let me add that to it that I think gone are those days that people can just get away without paying their claim. The days are over, because we now have the regulators watching over those insurance companies. Then we have our association, Nigerian Insurance Association, equally checking. So when you have issue like that, there are a number of places you can reach out to. In fact, the least we want to expect is somebody scandalizing us or go on the social media and say, oh, I have this claim, the company didn't pay. So please find out really when you have instances that a claim is not paid. Maybe an instance that Rasheedat mentioned where you buy a wrong product. For example, if you buy third-party insurance, that is covering another vehicle that you had accident with the car outside there. It's not for your own car. So those are the things that people need to know. But of course, it's our responsibility to educate people. And we're trying our best to do that. I think there's an ongoing radio jingle from NIA. NECOM 2, the regulator, is doing something about it. Even the CIN, our umbrella educational body, is equally doing something. That's why they go to primary schools, secondary school, to educate the children about insurance.
Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this panel as much as I did. We've come to the end of this panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to our panelists and our moderator. Thank you very much to our panelists for the transformative work they're doing in the insurance sector. Once again, please give them a round of applause for giving us a wonderful and brilliant panel. You know, actually, this panel has a very soft spot in my heart, not just because of the panelists and the conversation, but because, as I mentioned at the beginning of this event, I'm a product of insurance. I work in insurance. And earlier on in my career, Mrs. Rasheedat Adebisi actually gave me an award for, she gave me an award for, when I worked in the retail sales arm of AXA Mansard Insurance, she gave me an award for Diamond Performer that year. So I always remember that, and this actually working with AXA Mansard actually gave me a great start to my career, and I'm very appreciative to that. And I'm an insurance baby, essentially. At this point, I'd like to welcome my next panel. My next panel will be speaking on risk management and business stability for national development and risk mitigation. And on this panel, I'll be welcoming my moderator, Ms. Kemi Michael of Business Day, and she'll be doing the introduction for the panelists. So please make her feel welcome as she comes back on stage. Thank you.
Thank you again, and I enjoyed that panel, and I'm happy that they mentioned us Gen Zs and the things that we can insure. That's like one of my favorite parts. And anyway, we're going to move to the next one. But before that, I have a question again. So I misplaced my brown biro, yeah? Can I insure it after it has been misplaced, or? Okay, I would have to look for it then. All right, thank you very much. Now, this panel, the panel 3, would be talking about risk management and business stability for national development. And in addition, would also be talking about growth of insurance industry, as well as the challenges that the insurance industry faces. And to speak on this, we have two panelists again. I'll be flanked by two beautiful people. Our first speaker with over 25 years experience in the insurance industry, Mrs. Mary Adeonju, who is the MD and CEO of Consolidated Hallmark Insurance PLC, is unavoidably absent, but she will be represented by the able Executive Director of Operations, Mr. Ojiako Jim Alex Kelechi. Please let's put our hands together for him. Thank you, thank you. And for our next speaker, one thing you should know about our next speaker is that in 2005, he earned the recognition as the Nigerian Sales Ambassador of the Year during his tenure at Nigerian Bottling Company. That this was as a result of his achieving remarkable turnovers, which is not an easy feat, I'll tell you that. And also, while at CANI, C-A-N-I, he spearheaded a groundbreaking initiative significantly advancing computer literacy nationwide. Let's put our hands together and welcome Mr. Boyega Olambi Wonmi. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. He is the chairman of Insurance Group at the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Let's give him another round of applause, please. All right. Oh, both of you don't want me in your right, we'll get straight into it. So this particular panel is on risk management, as I earlier stated, and business stability for national development, as well as growth of insurance and the challenges that the insurance industry are facing right now. I'm going to start with that part, the challenges that in the industry, the insurance industry, is facing at the moment. And my question is going to be directed to Mr. Boyega. Let me stick with the one I can pronounce. All right, so what exactly are these challenges that are going on, that's going on rather in the insurance industry?
Thank you so much. And I think I would like to start by appreciating Business Day for this laudable initiative. I mean, in terms of packaging this particular program together, which of course, in its own significant way, will add to the quality of the deliverable that I'm going to share with us. I'll pick it up from the last question that was raised by the beautiful lady with cap on this role. And that question was on the current perception. She used that word. And I think she actually used a word like, it's like a negative perception about the industry. What are we doing to change it? And in the response that some of my colleagues provided, one of the critical areas, that we face as an industry is that the marketing communication that we currently deploy isn't enough to tackle the historical and legendary negative perception about the industry. And the key word here is that we need to improve on our awareness. How do I mean? It may interest you to note, and I'll speak to the numbers now, that in 2022, or let me even come close to in 2022, when the industry made about 720 billion naira, we paid claims worth over 380, meaning about 50% of the gross premium that the insurance company earned in Nigeria was made on claims. But you won't hear that in the news. All the issues that happened during NSAS, it may interest you also to note that there was seamless economic recovery because insurance paid claims. But you will also hear that in the news. So awareness is a major factor that we really, really need to deal with. And the DG of Chartered Insurance of Nigeria had said so much on some of the things we are doing, but I still think we still need to do more. But the more important one to that is government's involvement in terms of government enforcement. And I'll give you some numbers. Globally, as we speak today, maybe as of 2022, the gross premium of insurance in the globe, in terms of the life part of it, will probably be about $3 trillion, thereabouts. And on the non-life will be probably about $4 trillion. But why am I throwing these numbers? In Nigeria, that we are here, with over 120 billion people, million people that we can't validate in terms of population census. We are just trying to trend 1 trillion naira. Carry 1 trillion naira into 120 population, 120 million population, into 10 billion people in the world, and you'll be able to get some factor. And that underscores our less than 1% insurance penetration in Nigeria. Now, all over the globe, in South Africa, in America, in Canada, what you see is that government involvement in terms of enforcement is right up there. That we've not been able to achieve in Nigeria, and is a major limiting and inhibiting factor to our growth.
Thank you very much. And in your opinion, what would you say is the solution for this particular problem? Because I know that you've mentioned that the awareness of people that you're doing things, but people are not aware of it. Who is supposed to blow your trumpet? Is it the people on the internet? Is it the government? Is it the media? Or is it you yourself?
Well, thank you very much. Such a very beautiful question. You know, I started by thanking Business Day. You know, and one of the things that came to my mind when I got this invitation is that perhaps we should do more in terms of even partnership with the median houses. To be honest, I think we need to, and I'm sure the CINDJ is taking notes of that. We need to really, really do more. One of the things we've also done is that we in the last 1 decade, we tried to institute relationship and partnership with the Federal Executive Council, with the federal government of Nigeria, both at the national and the state level. We've also succeeded in creating, having an insurance portfolio in the Senate. Somebody manages that, but it hasn't really achieved the desired results. So what it just means is that as practitioners, we still need to go back. Nikon has done quite a lot of things in terms of creating this awareness, but again, like I did mention, once the government is not in the driver's seat, and that just has to come from the very top. Once they are not on the driver's seat, we may not be able to achieve so much. But we just keep on pushing, and like I mentioned, the media houses channel has turned to me now as one major tool we really need to deploy more as we move up again into the next years and the next decade.
Thank you very much. And would you also like to add to that?
Okay, so I know you didn't call my name because you feel you can't pronounce it. My name is Jim Alex. It's quite easy to pronounce. The other names you see around you belong to my grandfather, and then some other people they told me are my forebearers. I never met them, don't worry. Okay, so challenges for the insurance industry. So I take it up from where he's coming from. First of all, I don't see myself as an insurance person. I sell peace of mind, not insurance. I will also give a different view from where all of my colleagues stand. Our problem, challenge, is not that people are not aware. The society is instructor. As a hands-on on the insurance operations floor, people are aware of insurance, but in the negative. All right? So the average Nigerian has a scratch on the vehicle. He wants the entire vehicle painted. It means he is aware that insurance pays. However, he wants to game me, who is working on the other side. And that's wrong. Now, he will also give you an analogy of the European side, Americans. The premium those guys pay in those economies, people here can't pay it. Okay? So you need to understand that you get what you paid for. Your generation, my kids are on the same generation with you, so my house is it's argument every day. All right? It's a generation that believes they're smarter than everybody. Some things it took your parents years to learn. Before they open their mouth, they say, I know. So I believe you guys know. Some of your people too, they have claims. Before he gets to midway, he says, I'll take it to the social media. I've challenged several. I say, go there, put it there. I will upload your file on that same space so that the entire populace can read what it is you're claiming and what it is you paid for. They never do. So that tells me that they are aware. But it's just the Nigerian mentality of doing less to get more. Now, if you also take it around, what is the other challenge? Religion. I say no. Just as everybody here has said, it's not religion. It is the Esusu syndrome in our society and complex GoFunding. When my mother died, I made profit. Hello? Because there will be several platforms running concurrently to raise money for you. Okay? So each of those platforms are a group of friends, maybe the ones you have in the industry, the ones you have from wherever, your landlords associations, tenant association, everybody's running a platform, and then they just keep sending it in. So where then is the incentive to take a life cover? Where then is the incentive to take a burial insurance? In South Africa, for instance, where we always run to make comparison, burial expenses can ruin a family. Burial expenses, from buying the tomb, casket, and all of those things, can ruin a family. So burial expenses insurance is one of the highest selling insurance products in South Africa. Do you understand? But there is good news. For the insurance market, the way I see it from my own personal perspective, your generation won't do GoFunding. Your generation, as you sit here now, how many times have you sent money to your uncle? So your generation, no conformity. So your generation won't go that direction. Do you understand? If I give you a life example, I'm an Igbo person by birth, right? Now, of course, those of us who are from that region, we have town union associations and all of those things we attend. And so at the point, I just got frustrated. When you go, people are waiting for you at the car. I came because I wanted to see you. So I just took a look at my entire family members living in Lagos. And I said, how many of them are above 70? I counted 13. So I went to Ayinke Hospital there. How much is ambulance from here to the east? At that time, they told me 70,000. So there were 13 of them. So if all of them died the same day, it's 70 times 13. So I put it in the bank and fixed it there. I stopped going to meeting. So anytime somebody dies, they call me. I don't transfer. Take the corpse home. The people that side will bury him. Do you understand? And that's insurance anyway. But however, when it comes to your generation, I'm sure that's the same way you guys are going to think. So the GoFunding thing, helping people, is going to end with my line. It's going to end with my generation. So once that ends, the pressure will descend. The pressure will descend. And so people will then know that, okay, if I don't want to go bankrupt, I just have to do this. Take it a little bit higher than to the government level. Our government and our people don't understand the principle of economic loss. It is not sufficient that when something happens, people can rally around and contribute money to pay you. That money they are rallying around to pay you could have been deployed for other use, i.e. investment, that will also grow the economy. But it is being deployed because you have gone bankrupt or because you can't help yourself. So at the end of the day, we're all moving in circle. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now let's move into the risk of business management, well, business face globally. What risks do business face globally, and how do these risks impact on the economy?
Okay, so the risks that businesses will face globally is either physical or moral. Physical hazards coming from, say, natural disasters, or even those that are happenstance by the nature of man, maybe accidents, fire, and all of them. And so, if you now go to the moral side, which is the one that is prevalent in our own environment, which will be the attitude of the people to risk, if you take it from the global space, localize it, we are running in an environment where the blood of Jesus is covering many people, and the other people whose blood of Jesus is not covering, it's not my portion, is covering them. So there is little space for us to operate on. So don't worry. Okay, so those risks can actually take any company into extinction. If you were to read some few years ago when there was a spill, an oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, the liability coming from that spill almost puts Shell out of operation. If you also read further, when the Twin Towers at Ground Zero came down, 11 insurance companies worldwide went under. So the risks are always there, staring at us in the face. But however, how we manage them is what is important. It's either you insure them, which is transfer mechanism, or then you critically analyze those risks and know the ones you can keep, the ones you can eliminate, or reduce their impact. Okay? So that's just it for risks.
All right, thank you very much. Now, I'll be asking Mr. Gwega the next question. How can Nigerian insurance industry compete favorably with its counterparts in Africa in terms of contribution to GDP?
Thank you so much. Well, I tried to present some analysis, I think, in the first response I provided to your question. So there are several things that you look at in terms of the GDP. You look at the population. You look at the economic activities of the country. I did mention earlier on, if you look at Nigerian population of about 120 million people, compared to South Africa, that is about half. And you look in terms of insurance contribution to GDP, theirs is 2 digits, ours is not even a digit, it's less than 1. Then you begin to look at some critical issues therein. And those issues are not far-fetched from all the things you've had right in the course of this discussion, these are the ones I met. You've heard my colleague talked about the fact that religion is really, really not the bane of our non-acceptance of insurance. It's actually a mindset of an average Nigerian. Because if you say it's religion, then I'll tell you, why will you have a gate and the blood of Jesus will not cover your house from not having a gate? You don't need a gate. Why do people have keys at the doors of the gates? Blood of Jesus won't cover that. It's just a moral thing that my house needs to be protected. Why do people go extra lengths to buy Alsatian dogs, Doberman, and put it in their houses and pay huge, humongous amounts to get those dogs fed? Is it that they don't pray? No, they do. So it's not really about religion. It's about the natural mindset of Nigerians. And the mindset of Nigerians are, I'm sorry to say this, is just a mindset of hardiness. This thing can't happen. You know, I had one of my colleagues said in here some few minutes ago, it's only in Nigeria you see people driving cars worth millions of naira, and they can't pay comprehensive insurance. So you see people on Third Mainland, I see someone, people removing their suit and rolling trousers on the road and want to fight for somebody eating their car. You won't get that in developed countries. People just exchange cars. Which one is your insurance? Everybody moves on. Next second, they've gone. Everybody have gone. So it's just a mindset. So the question is, how do we change that mindset? And I think there is no better time because we have a generation that asks questions and are more inquisitive to make things happen. And I think your generation will help in dealing with that, And it begins from, if I ask you now, do you have insurance for anything? Do you have a life insurance? If I ask you that, you may probably don't have, So it starts from you. It's all about you. It starts from us. It starts from every individual in this room to say, okay, this product that they're even talking about, let me even test it. Let me even try it. And you'll be surprised to know that it's cheap compared to the liabilities that may come thereof of that particular thing. So to answer the question in more specific terms, how do we compete favorably with our counterpart? Is first of all is to have a total departure in terms of our mindset, a change. The word there is a total change to say, okay, as a nation, we are just moving towards the right trajectory and the right direction. Because in terms of even the economic value of it, you see in instances in Lagos, collapse of building, That building that collapsed the last time, I'm sure it was a public information. It wasn't insured. How did that happen? It's crazy. You can't get that outside Nigeria. It's only in this country you get that. The Lagos State government and the rest of them were fighting. No, it was in works. It was this. It can't happen. So it starts from government that has a responsibility overall to take their own and say, hey, this is the direction. We've talked about Section 65 and Section 65, which talks about public buildings and all the rest. We've been on this thing for over 2 decades for crying out. We've not been able to achieve any results. So it's still all about government going forward and going forward. What does that Section 65 and 65 mean? It means that every building that has more than a floor in Nigeria, where people have ingress and egress, people go in and go out, you must have some public liability insurance concerning it. It hasn't happened. So you go into a bank now and you get yourself injured. Bank is supposed to take care of you. But it's not going to happen because they don't have it. You go to a store, a mall, and something happened to you, that mall is supposed to take, but it's not going to happen in Nigeria. So, and that is the area I feel strongly, I mean, more than ever before, that your institution, the media houses, can really, really, really help to support. It's frustrating, to be honest. Can really, really help us in this drive. And if that could be achieved, I can tell you, with the population size that we have, we compete favorably with any of our counterparts in the world. Training just 1 trillion naira, when the global in combined is about $7 trillion. Come on, where are we coming from? It's just not, it's not there.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jim Alex, do you have anything to add to that?
So I want to ask my colleagues to go home happy. When 2023 numbers come, we'll cross the trillion mark. But we'll cross the trillion mark thanks to government subsidy is gone, and then also thanks to the dollar depreciation, because for some incomes we managed to earn in dollars and foreign currency, the values we're booking them at has, quadrupled. So the trillion mark will be crossed. However, the downside of it is that because of that high exchange rate, again, in order to compare us with other people, it has to be converted to a uniform exchange. And so when it's converted backwards, we're actually going to lose traction. So where we were in 2022, we are probably going to end up at where we were in 2020. That's what it's going to show. Okay, so that's what it's going to show. Jumping on what he has said, to expand the base again, government absolutely needs to do more. But who is government? This is orientation and the capacity of the human mind to think beyond self and now. Because this is coming from all directions and you must look at it holistically. The Nigerian system does not provide a safety net for people. And therefore, the preoccupation of the individual is how to survive. So let me give a typical example. What is our minimum wage? 35,000. And therefore, have you ever sat down to imagine that there are people earning 50, 60,000 naira in the civil service? That person is the person who is supposed to move your file to the director's office, who is going to approve for the skyscraper to be built. Ordinarily, even the building regulations in Lagos State stipulates that part of the documentation you're supposed to submit for that level of building should be your insurance. Okay? So, this man who is earning 50,000 or less, if you give him what he's thinking is not the safety of the people who is going to live in there. He's not thinking about the reasons why that law is there. What he's thinking of is what he can make out of this situation to solve his problem. And because there is no safety net. If he retires tomorrow, that ends it. So, rather than do the right thing, he tells your guy, this file, he knows he never put so and so inside, but I can move it forward. I will move it forward. You understand me? So he makes you believe he's the one that can move it forward. So what do? Give me your account number. You transfer. So your file moves to the director's office. And so the director looks at it, checks there. He's not checking it for the purpose of enforcing it. He's checking his, customary. You understand? So he calls his PA. Take this file, tell the gentleman what to do. Because he doesn't want to say it himself. So the gentleman is told what to do. And gentleman is aware. Okay, so he came with a bag. He opens it, brings out another one, and says, this is for him. And they give it to him. He signs it. So the building comes down, and everybody's looking at everybody surprised. Since that building came down, has the government now said everybody with a skyscraper line up? Produce your insurance document. No. That's not happened. So we cry wolf, we shout, we have sacked that person, we didn't sack that person. And then, Nigeria is a place where hot news drops per second. You will know now, you guys are on Twitter, right? So hot news drops per second. So before we finish talking about that one, did they insure, did they not insure? Your friend will phone you, have you heard? You say, which one? He said, they have killed Army Major in Damaturu. Everybody shift to that side. So what happens? So that base needs to be expanded, and it falls on government to expand it. The industry, for instance, came up with NIID to help expand the base for motor insurance. Okay? So what has happened out of it? Whilst we're struggling to make sure that people get their vehicles insured, these days, I can assure you that in this industry, in this market, it's easier these days for you to get your motor claim settled because the premium on it is now better off. And so the haggle we go over the price of spare parts is reducing. So everybody just continues paying because you're paying premium naira and you're getting your claim settled fast. Now, the road safety person, or rather the last man, when you approach certain bridge and then there is a traffic as you're coming, just look to your right. You see him there with a machine. It's randomly taking numbers and checking if they have insurance. And rather than when you want to go and pay, to educate you to say, if you had this insurance in place, this won't happen. It's not a revenue drive for government. So the approach is different. There is no corrective discussion. No, in fact, government is happy that we are not doing enough to tell people to come and insure their vehicle, because if they all insure the vehicle, that source of revenue will dry up. You understand? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move. Let's move to our next questions. Now, if you have any questions, so as not to forget it, you can write it down and we'll take question and answer section right after this. Now, for our next question, how can businesses balance, and this will be directed to Mr. Jim Alex, how can businesses balance the need for innovation and growth with the imperative of to manage risks effectively for long-term sustainability?
Okay, so I will again go local with hands-on experience. The Jaqua syndrome has not been fair to us in the industry. We daily lose capacity. In many insurance institutions, Madam is here, she's the one training all of us. So in many insurance institutions, if you take a poll of people in that same place who have spent, say, 15 years, you'll be amazed that you won't get up to 15% of the staff. Many of your generation are in a hurry to replace us. Exercise patients will soon go. However, you're not staying long enough to learn the ropes. When people leave frequently, institutional memory is lost. Now, institutional memory in the sense that there's a way things are done. Your generation will say, no, no problem. Oh, God, no. You understand? But however, when institutional memory is lost, you spend more time trying to recall how you got to where you are. Okay? Now, that does not encourage sustainability. Jaqua syndrome is not only impacting on us, but we're suffering the most, and I will tell you why. My friend is there. As it's impacting the banking sector, we're all in the financial services sector, so the banks have a deeper pulse than we do. So they turn, and the few people that we have trained, hoping to hand over to, they take them all. So we start all over again. Do you understand? That does not encourage sustainability. Now, when we now come back to the larger environment, living the Japa syndrome and all of that, regulation is key. When we move one step forward and then take 10 steps backwards, it doesn't encourage sustainability at all. Today, for instance, we have a situation where our customers are battling with even being in existence. MTN declared a loss. Nigerian breweries, I thought it won't happen in my lifetime because Nigerians guzzle beer. We don't drink it, we guzzle it. But Nigerian breweries declared a loss. What does that tell us? Jobs will be lost. So even the asset base for us to insure will reduce. We don't just insure their assets, their motor vehicles, and all of those things, but the personnel, the human beings are also insured. If these human beings also lose their job, their purchasing power reduces. A man who has just lost his job is not thinking of comprehensive motor insurance. In fact, if he can get the one that Ajala, those people in the local government offices issue for 1,000 naira, he will buy it just to show police and go to where he is going, because he's also suffering from the impact of all of these economic issues. So we're suffering from all angles, and all of these things don't encourage sustainability. But what can we do? Bible says that when the righteous is what? When the foundation is weak, the righteous can only pray. Yes, when the foundation is very weak, what can the righteous do? But we can't give up. We will continue, first of all, to ensure that we reinvest in the economy. Okay? Now, the regulator has come up with some ideas in the recent past, and so we've descended low to be doing the micro insurance side of it. And those micro insurance side of it is actually to take care of the people at the lower bottom of the pyramid. Just as our senior colleague here had said, once you expand and pull out people from poverty, the base for insurable assets will actually increase. Your generation, for instance, you don't own assets. I mean huge assets. But all of you own iPhone, which is what police does not like seeing with you, but you own it anyway. And then you own laptops. These things are dear to you. Now, for a country with such a huge population of your generation and the millennials, that's a huge market. Yes, if you go to websites of insurance companies, you will see some of the products covering those things. But we're also challenged. We're also challenged. What is that challenge? You know, you jokingly asked a question that, is it possible for you to lose your pen and then come and insure it? People are attempting to do it on a daily basis. But we thank God, your generation is more honest, take it from me, than the older ones. If they say they have lost their Apple, they have lost Apple. Okay? The older ones can actually, you know, sometimes we lie for no reason. You have insured it, it's called all risk. So if it falls off your hand and break, it's actually covered, isn't it? Your generation will say it fell and broke. My generation will probably start cooking up stories to explain why it fell. And in the process of cooking up that story to explain why it fell, he will not tell me something that will make me not tell him that it's not covered. Do you understand? So that's where we are. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Boyega. Do you have anything to add to that?
Okay. You talk about sustainability, and sustainability is rather a very, very wide word. So in terms of what do we need to do to ensure that the industry stands? You know, he's talked about capacity. We've lost a lot of capacity. He has also talked about various government intervention, which we alluded to the fact that that is not upcoming. But I think over and above all that, if you look at the word insurance, or what do we have here, insuring, permit me to use these letters, I-N-S-U-R-E. If you are not in, you can't be sure of the value of insurance. I think that's the word I want us to go on with here. If you are not in, then you are not sure of the value that insurance can put on your table. And the last time we checked, out of these 120 million Nigerians, you take away the age group that is less than 20, who are not into the workforce. Less than 1% of the remaining of that balance of the population have insurance in one way or the other. So it's a huge opportunity net for us as an industry. And I think everybody in this room can be our ambassador. And over the years, we have been privileged to speak in conferences. I've asked this question over and over again, and I'm going to pose the same question. If there is anybody in this room right now that have a valid insurance product at any point in time or the other, and have suffered any loss, and claim had not been paid, raise up your hand. In this room. And in this market, and you've not been paid. Okay, which one is it? They say,
I had a better home guard that's insuring all my properties. I pride myself that I'm fully insured. So I was at work that day, and my son was playing, and the TV got damaged. He was turning like this. The book flew. He said the book flew out of his hand, and the TV. I just got home, put on the TV. I was hearing the sound. I wasn't seeing anything. So I got to the office. I'm like, thank God I'm insured. And they repudiated the claim on the fact that there is a policy condition in that policy that says my son is supposed to be under my custody, and that I can't claim when someone is under my custody. Yes, I'm talking of, it's a company that I worked with. So I couldn't push it because I was the head of claims. So it's my team telling me, Oga, your claim is not covered. So I went to the underwriting team and I said, Killer mean, what do you mean? How can you say my claim is not covered? This was what happened. I was at work. I have all the policies covered. I've been paying premium, this and that. And I said something. I said, if I had placed this business through a broker, you would have paid. But because I told them, I said, if I was still in life, I would complain to management and this claim will be paid. But because I'm the head of claims, I cannot pursue it. Until now, the claims will pay. There's nothing I could do. I was head of claims, so it will be as if I'm pursuing something. But anytime I have this type of thing, I remember it because I know that I think that claim was valid. But for one reason or the other, the policy terms and condition actually say somebody that is under my custody. How can I be at work and my son is at home? So what I now did was I asked them, because I asked them, what can I do to make this kind of thing never happen again? And they said the only thing to do is to place all my electronics under all risk. So no problem. And I said, okay, move all my electronics under all risk. And the next thing was, Mojola came, that's the head of retail, and said, I cannot, that's anti-selection. I said, what are you saying again? So we had to battle that one again before they eventually moved it under all risks at a higher premium. And that's what I've been doing since then. So all my electronics now under all risks. But I feel that even with what I had, without it being under all risks, it should have been covered. Thank you.
Okay, so I will respond to that, madam. It's capacity issue. If you check my WhatsApp, what I put there is insurance technician. I'm not a practitioner. You guys are the ones practicing. You are covered. Taking movable items, electronics in your house and taking them to the ORI section is supposed to have been automatic at the point of placement. The underwriter ought to have told you. Okay, so all of you wonder why she didn't know, because she in insurance too, there are different sections. Okay, some people are for claims, reinsurance, and all of those things. And it is in practice that we test this paper we are selling. It is in practice. But just as you said, you did not get that claim because you were morally bound not to push it. Because you were the head of claims. You understand? But if as soon as you left that company, you had told me, I will go and get it. You understand? Because the essence of insurance is for you to get payment when there is a genuine claim. I take pride in saying when I hear such things, I would like to escort you. You know, I had a broker who came to my office and said, one of us in this market did not pay a claim for so and so reasons. I said, okay, let me see. So I reviewed it and said, okay, all right, come on Tuesday. So we went to the insurance company and we sat in the hall, their meeting room. And so the head of the technical end was discussing with him whilst I was blowing whistle and looking the other way because he knows me. So I'd only escorted a friend. And by the time they finished speaking, I said, okay, go and write your check, it's covered. A practitioner shouldn't look for a reason not to pay. He should look for a reason to pay. You don't defend truth. I also have people whose claims have turned down. Okay? And they start writing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. My brother here is in the brokerage side. You know I can write very well. That guy too is smiling there. I will not tell them, don't write. Invite the person for discussion. And so the person comes, I will explain truth to you. I will explain truth to you. You cannot hide it. Once we finish talking, we all come out from the room, everybody's smiling. My staff usually ask me, okay, what did you tell them? I said, I told them the truth. Because when you tell that person the truth, his conscience will tell him that what I'm hearing is the truth that he's hearing. That's what he's hearing. So, madam, apologies on behalf of the industry, even though you're part of the industry. No, it's the truth. Because, you know, hearing it from you, everybody here is scared. To say, if she can't get her own claim, how am I? But no, you were covered. You were covered. And then again, that also brings us to another side of it. Reading policy documents. No matter how much you think you know this thing, please, in fact, the first page of the policy document clearly says, please read. That's the first page you see. Read. And if you find anything that is not, come back for discussion. There is nothing that cannot be discussed as far as insurance is concerned. But it's just you knowing what to do and what not to do. Sometimes we buy insurance cover, and then at the end of the day, when something happens, you think it was covered. Meanwhile, it wasn't covered. And the word all risk, she mentioned it, and everybody said, that's it. That word itself is also deceptive. Madam has laughed. So, all risk does not cover everything, no. Does not cover everything. It covers everything to the extent that it's not excluded. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have several questions here.
Okay, let me just
conclude with your thoughts.
Yeah, I think the interjection she made also comes out to be an hedge for us as an industry. And what that means is that you can go home with the fact that it's a transparent industry, honest and sincere. Because she's a part of the industry. And yet she still raised that to her knowledge. And she said two things. That perhaps if she had read that policy document very well, one. Two, if she had gone through a broker, so I think that is the word that needs to be put on the table. If she had gone through a broker whose responsibility is to read the document on your behalf if you are too busy to do so, that may not have happened. And I think by coincidence of events, my broker is here, although he's my colleague in the office, Dapo. And he can testify to the fact that in the last 2 years or thereabout, Dapo, if I'm wrong, correct me, I've had instances to make claims on my TV set, something akin to what she said. I think one was about 600,000. The other one was maybe about 700,000 naira TV, and it was replaced not at the price that I bought it, but at the current price that it was. So it's not we pay claims. That is the bottom line. And again, the reason why she wouldn't push is because of conflict of interest. You know, she's the head. She's the one that will sign. Yeah, so you can't, you know, so that's it. So be rest assured. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we have several questions. I have questions at the back, and I also have some questions here. So when we're done with these questions, we would answer. So if you have any questions, just raise your hand, so I'll count. Okay, so both of you, all right, make that 3. So we'll take these first, and then that 3. Thank you very much. For these questions here, it says, how do you collaborate with other professionals and or professional bodies to help sell insurance to our population? Take, for example, the legal profession, who usually interferes with aggrieved persons. That's question number 1. Another question says, does corruption impact on sale of insurance? And this one says, is there any plan to reduce our policies to our local languages so that our ordinary people can understand?
Okay, so I'm not a Gen Z, so I will probably call on you to remind me the questions as I go along. So the first one is, how do we collaborate with other professionals? We do collaborate with other professionals. What we're doing here today is a collaboration with your side of the economy.
The media.
Yeah, the media. I know that when some other professionals like the oil and gas people are having their events, we do go deliver, lectures and all of those things pro bono. So there's that collaboration. But now coming to our legal friends. At the association level, yes, we also collaborate with them. But however, Nigerian industries are usually Bobo niche industry. Don't worry, we'll laugh here today. Yeah, comedy is in us. So now, the legal side, as far as the Nigerian market is concerned, why is it outside here people could just become professionals in a particular topic, in a particular subject matter, as far as legal is concerned? It also happens in our own market. In Nigeria here, you go to school, you're a lawyer, you go to law school, you come out barrister and solicitor. So sometimes when their clients complain to them and they write, I can tell you that 99% of the time, the lawyer writing has not even cited the policy document. All he just does is just pull up his letter-headed paper, write record on top of the paper, and then tell us, I give you 7 days or we'll go to court. And so we begin the exchange of mails back and forth. Okay, so that's not collaboration. And most times, if on a personal level, what I do is invite them for a meeting again. And so over the table, we discuss this side is this side is this. Because actually speaking, there is insurance law. Okay? Flowing out of the law of contract. And so what you see might not be the same thing. Because somebody has paid premium, it's not automatic that he must get a claim settled. There are conditions precedent to liability. Okay, so if he doesn't meet those conditions, liability does not attach. There are also conditions subsequent to liability. So there are different things. Somebody has a claim that he filed in June, and so he's in your office in February of the next year, and the first thing he starts to say is, my claim has been delayed. Since June, I had that accident. We're still talking about it. His lawyer is fuming. And then you ask him, when did you submit the last document that was required of you? He said, last week. As far as the insurance side is concerned, the claim process started last week. Because you must complete your documentation, which is what is going to use to process your claims. What was the other thing you asked? Corruption. Does corruption impact on insurance? It does. Insurance cannot insure corruption. So meaning that every money you pay under the table, the man himself cannot even declare it. Talk less of now wanting you to insure it. Okay, so money paid under the table, money you give people in Ghana must go back and all of those things is gone. But again, directly impacting on insurance, we've also seen cartels and syndicates perpetuating fraud in this market. And that is why when you lodge a claim, the insurance people have to look through it through, a lens to be sure that it is a valid claim. Ironically, just 2 weeks ago, in my own office, we had a claim that was lodged, death benefit claim for workmen compensation. And then there are some claims you see, you run through the database, you see those names are beginning to reoccur, so it alerts you. And so rather than send an adjuster, we get a private eye. Because that's what the public doesn't also know, that in insurance, sometimes we use private investigators to investigate, not to go and adjust claim, to investigate, to confirm. Okay? And so by the time the investigator submitted his report, the man himself had claimed on his own self from 3 other insurance companies, and they have paid. That he died. And what gave him up is that when the investigator touched base with the wife and asked the wife, has your husband in recent time come into possession of huge sum of money? She said, yes. So he paid some money into my account, and I was asking him where the money came from. And he said it's business. Because he can't be the beneficiary on that. Because he's supposed to be dead. But the man is alive. Now, that kind of person can also go around the market telling people, I had a claim, it was not settled. Now, hear the wonderful part of it. We asked him, advised him, say, okay, write us to withdraw this claim so that we will not press charges. It's not that we don't want to press charges, but pressing charges is going to take all of us through merry-go-round, our system. So he wrote that letter withdrawing the claim. Now we paid the investigator 2.1 million. So my people came, when they came to sign off the voucher for the 2.1 million. So okay, this is that case. I said, okay, as we pay, send him photocopy and write him to refund the 2.1 million he made us spend. So here is the collaboration with the legal side. His lawyer has written me that the man is not claiming. Why am I asking him to refund the cost of the investigation? So that's why I say sometimes our legal friends, they don't, sometimes you just wonder when they write these letters. You understand? And so that's some of the things that we see. The third one.
The third one is about reducing the policies to local languages.
I vote for that. Do you understand? It shouldn't just be reducing them to, and that's where microinsurance comes in, really at that level. It's not just reducing them to the local languages, even to pidgin English, okay? So that the people can understand better and reduce them to something that, a pamphlet, the type they give us in church, that's by the time you turn the cover 2-3 times, everything is gone, because there's nothing written in those 21 pages that cannot be compressed. And in these days of modern age, you can actually have the master policy on your website and then reduce the key things that the person needs to read, okay, on bullet points. And then at the bottom, you say, for further information, click here. And he clicks it and he goes to see the larger document. So I think we should do that. But that will have to be, first of all, it's a regulated business. We need to get the buy-in of the regulator, okay? 2, that insurance contract is also a legal document, and so the legal side of people must also tell us what are the implications of removing 1, 2, 3 things and how does it pan out. And then our friends from the brokers market, he's shaking his head. They must also now agree with us, okay, that is okay. Because if he doesn't agree with me that is okay and continues to demand that voluminous document, I will just continue to have to produce it to give to him. So we must separate the corporate side from the retail side, because the corporates can have those bulky documents, but the retail side should have something that is very simple. Because your generation, again, don't have patience for those things.
That's exactly where my generation comes in. We can create the apps for all of this.
Well, I think you are right, and we'll definitely need this generation input to change the paradigm, to achieve the paradigm shift and change that we are looking at. At the level of Nigerian Council of Registered Insurance Brokers, through the various regions in the West, in the Southeast, in the South-South, we've actually started a campaign. But that campaign does not deal with policy documents. It's only just deal with the peripheral part of it. So, for example, it is during one of those campaigns I learned that insurance in Yoruba means Madami Dofo. I didn't know that, with all the education, Madami Dofo, meaning that, I don't know, but it means, don't let me suffer a lot. I think, but it has to do with suffer loss or something. And they have that also in Igbo, in Pidgin language. We are doing that. But like you said, everything now is on the hub. And I think the take-home here for me today is to go to the NCRB and say, hey, how do we engage this generation to make sure we create some app that people can actually relate with? In terms of corruption, like he said, is actually hinging negatively on the industry. And there are several examples. He had alluded to that. And I think, again, it's just, you can't force people to be truthful or to be honest. But we'll just continue to ensure that on our own part, like he said, we should have some lens, to be able to diversify when people are trying to be funny. But you can't take away that from the generation. That in terms of collaboration, we'll continue to do more. We've learned something from you guys today, and we'll see how we can take this to the next level as an industry.
All right. And for the last question, this one, I'd like you to answer in a very short sentence. What are the innovation measures that government and insurance sector can take in order to boost insurance policy awareness in the minds of the general public so that it can drive higher insurance turnover in Nigeria? I know you've mentioned several of it before, but in short sentence.
I think it's, people gravitate towards where they can see value. That's the truth. You want to get married, you say, is there value in this thing? You want to get a job. So the value we sell only comes to the fore when the uneventuality happens. And that's why I said that if there's anything you need to take home from here today, the word insure means that until you are in, you can't be sure, you can't be guaranteed. And even when you are in and you are guaranteed, like he said, we say peace of mind. Until an eventuality happens, you may not be able to test the value of that product. But how do I know that this thing is real? There are witnesses around that could confirm that to you to say, hey, and I've shared my own personal experience. I can't even, I've suffered some funny, cars have been stolen, get paid, household utensils, washing machine. I can't count how many, and yet I work in the industry. So the question is, for other people who don't have the houses, the household, car insurance, and they suffer that loss, they may not come back again. So it's value, and that value will continue to preach, that value will continue to sell, that value will continue to put in the eyes of the Nigerian public. And everybody in here today can be our ambassador to say, hey, I attended the conference, I had this, and let me even try it. Let me insure my vehicle, let me insure my house, let me insure my car, and that's it. It starts from there.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jim Alex, would you like to add anything? Short sentence, please. Thank you.
Yes, I think we should also, just as everybody who has come here today has said, we should do more in the publicity side. It will surprise you to know that sometimes, or even most times, when there is a disaster in the nation and insurance claims are settled, rather than the insurance industry to take credit for it, politicians do. Because they will call people, gather and tell them, these people will have settled them. Most often than not, is insurance financing that settlement. But they take credit for it because of next election. Thank you.
So the insurance people need to blow their trumpets more.
Yeah.
Now let's move to the crowd now. The lady in pink will go first, and the man on glasses, and then the lady on glasses. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Jim Alex and Mr. Boyega. Your conversations have been very insightful. My name is Zainab Adiromu, and I'm a journalist at Business Day. I feel like, as a Gen Z, we already have so many financial problems that we battle with. First of all, we're thinking of earning. Then we're thinking of increasing our earning capacity. Then we're thinking of investing. And now you're talking about insurance. And even within insurance, with all of the things that you've said today, there are so many products. There's a range of products. So essentially, how do we prioritize which insurance products to buy? Is it life insurance? Is it health, car insurance? Which one exactly are we supposed to focus on? Thank you.
Okay. So it's all about risk management. And the startup point in the pyramid of risk management is for identify the risk. Number 2 is to prioritize it. So you have listed about 4 or 5 things. So if I have, for example, 100,000 naira that I want to spend on insurance in a year, which one is of more priority to me? Is it my life? Is it the car? Is it my laptop? Is it my phone? So you need to make that decision yourself. Then number 3 is to provide a solution. The solution is, you've heard it said, in the course of this conference, you can go online and just check the various insurance companies in Nigeria and look at those products that they offer. Pick up your phone, ask questions. Then the 4th one, which is where the challenge normally lies with us as human beings, as individuals, especially in this part of the world, is the execution. You need to make up your mind and make that decision. Because the truth is this: if you have a laptop and it's via that laptop that you get connected to the wall, and that laptop is stolen in traffic, you are back to 0. If you have a phone and that phone is the only connecting pipe you have to the wall and it is stolen, you may not be able to replace it. So you need to just make that decision. If you insure your life and life is gone, and you want to back number, you can't, it means that the one that the car hit is not the one that will collect it. You can't take the number, it's gone. So you need to now make those priorities. So what you find out is that, as I was coming in here today, my colleague here was telling me about Loyola College and some other, secondary school folks who insured their lives and that of their spouse. So I said initially what they had was like and I think one of them is here, and I think initially what they had was a 5 million naira in the case of eventuality, but they've now seen that 5 million naira is nothing. So they are moving into 50 million naira. So it means that, in a family of 2, husband and wife, anyone that goes first, the one that is left earns 50 million naira. It's something. Yeah, for the education of children. So it's not, and that takes me to another level in terms of execution. I've said you first identify, you prioritize, you make a decision, then you execute. In my first 1 year in the industry, I've spent 16 years now. I was privileged to be in a conference like this in somewhere in the southwest of Nigeria, not Lagos. Speaking to PTAs, Parents Teacher Association, we shared with them the need for Education Endowment Fund, which is an insurance policy. And a gentleman among the parents in the room raised up his hand and said, this thing is not going to happen. And he gave reason why it's not going to happen. Unfortunately, in the so air crash that happened, he was in it and he died. Now, that policy was effected, and his children were the first, 3 of them actually, to benefit because the other parents contributed. So that's where execution comes in. You don't go home here today and say, I'm going to insure my laptop tomorrow. Please don't. So you just need to make that priority. So thank God for your earnings, thank God for your salary, but you also need to consolidate whatsoever you are.
Thank you. Now to the next gentleman.
It's my turn. Look up, I won't talk. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, my question is going to be a little bit disruptive. I am restraining myself not to open up as much as I would have loved to, for one singular reason.
the illustration that was given to Mrs. Abimbola Tiamiyu about being morally bound not to push her claim because she's a part of the system. I'm also looking at it. This is Mr. Gboyega Olambiwon, my very good friend that is on the hot seat. How much of heat can I put under him in this particular situation? But let me start by saying that these two gentlemen, Mr. Jemike and Mr. Gboyega, Jim Alex, sorry. You actually said that your name was being mispronounced. I thought I was not going to make the same mistake, but I ended up. Pardon me, please. Yeah. Mr. Jim Alex and Mr. Gboyega Olambiwon, I'm particularly impressed by the depth of submissions that you have made here today. It's quite insightful. Yeah, please. Because it's not very many times that one goes to a forum like this and you have practitioners speak so convincingly, speak so passionately, and with some depth of truth in what they are saying, depth of truth that you can relate with, Mr. Olambiwon cited the instance of some group of old boys, Loyola College, who are moving their sum assured for life assurance from 5 million naira to 50 million naira. It's absolute truth. I have been the Secretary General of that particular association for 19 years now. So I know the credibility and integrity that his own organization, Skib Insurance Brokers, has brought to bear on this particular instance that is cited. So I want to say a very big thank you to Dapo. Thank you so much for all you have done for us. But back to my real issue. You see, what Mrs. Tiamiyu came up with the other time is just a tip of the iceberg when you want to consider what people are experiencing out there. It might be convenient for us to sit in the comfort of this room, talk about insurance, we're working, things are improving, this and that. But you only need to go to the street and ask people for them to give you their real life experiences. Then you will know that it is not yet a time to sing praises or to rest on our hours, but for you to lace your boots and know that you still have very long distance to run. I'm going to give you a particular instance. Up till now, I still feel embittered about it. It's a personal experience. I was the managing director of an organization over a period of time. I have a friend. Then Mr. Olambiwon said that if Mrs. Tiamiyu had gone through a broker, that probably our experience would have been different in getting the claim. I disagree, sir. We had this broker who was a friend, a very close friend of mine, and he had the business of the entire company, all the company vehicles, the properties, assets, and co and co. And he was dealing with, I don't know, am I permitted to mention names? Just to be open and transparent. Is this insurance company in Maryland? I don't know their status now. Goldlink, they're the ones. And over the years, they enjoyed fantastic patronage from me, because I was the managing director, the box stopped on my table. I was the one that gave them the business. A few years later, when I had left my seat as the managing director, my own vehicle, which was still insured with them, had an accident. I was the one that drove. It was just a little bit of miscalculation. I met myself crossing a median, and the underneath of my car got seriously damaged. I took it to them, and they said, by the time they work out the claim, I was surprised. These are people that we've been giving comprehensive premiums over time. I complained. They came back and said, okay, yes, they had reworked it and co. They are going to pay 4 million naira. For the first 1.5 years, I did not get a single kobo from them. I had to take the matter to court. When they saw that I had gone to court, they paid the first 2 million naira. Within the period that we will get judgment and co. My broker friends prevailed on me that maybe we should stop the court processes until you pay me. When you pay me in full, I can discontinue the court process. At the end of the day, they paid a total of 3 million naira. No, yes, 3 or 2.5 million naira. I can't remember fully now. With the stress. At the end of the day, I got a judgment against them. I think the judge awarded the balance an additional 1 million naira damages and co. That judgment was given maybe like 3.5 years ago. Up till now, I have not collected a penny. They did not, they gave me, what do you call it, discharge voucher. They did not fulfill their obligation on the discharge voucher fully up until this moment that I'm talking. So where is the hope of a common man? Just somebody that will just say, okay, I want a third party, I want, what do you call it, comprehensive insurance for me to have what Mr. Jim Alex sells. He doesn't sell insurance. He says peace of mind. You said earlier on. You said peace of mind. I wanted peace of mind. That was why I did that. So that's on one hand. On the other hand, which is like a form of admonition to you gentlemen, is that, see, nobody will take you seriously until you begin to treat yourself so. Insurance business is not yet a serious business in Nigeria. It is possible. In fact, I was looking forward to an audience where I thought my friend, my very good friend, Segun Omoshe, chairman of NIA, will be here, so that I can look at him straight in face. Some of the things that we've discussed over drinks, let's bring them open. Let people hear us here, you know. Insurance business is not yet serious. Otherwise, the kind of struggle or effort you should be making, the focus of effort now, should not be beyond whether you want people to sing your praises, you want to have brand ambassadors and co. It is to go after those infractions. When anybody has any issue that whereby the claims are not being paid or delayed unnecessarily, there should be somewhere that they can go to and get joy. Until that is done, some practitioners, some nefarious practitioners will continue to act the way they're acting. That's number one. And number two, Mr. Jimalex, you mentioned the other time that can people pay the kind of premiums that they pay in the US, in the UK, and co.
Absolutely.
I want to slightly differ from you there. You can, okay, if we have a vehicle, an ordinary vehicle in the US, you pay maybe like $150, $120 on a monthly basis. Where did we start from? When Naira was 240 Naira, I'm not going to Jonathan era now, when it was 160, 165, 170. When dollar was 200 Naira, how much was $120? I have a car in the US that I pay insurance on a monthly basis. It is easier for me to do that over there than pay your 5% on whatever now, where I have a vehicle that I cannot even take out now because I cannot afford the, what do you call it, the comprehensive insurance on it. And are we talking of the same playing ground as it is in the US? In the US, you see the kind of roads that they have. They don't have such trouble. In the UK, they don't have such troubles. Take the business more seriously by starting with, imagine this scenario. Imagine all those downfall drivers on the road. Imagine if they knew that when they hit somebody's vehicle on the road, they would be made to pay for it. Imagine the kind of cultural reorientation that will come onto our roads. If people knew that insurance business is now so serious that you cannot afford to drive anyhow on the road. Maybe people will pay whatever it is that they can pay or whatever you force on them, but ensure that the government comes up to its own billings by ensuring that insurance business is pursued the way it's supposed to be pursued. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before you answer, I would like the lady to also ask her question so we can wrap up.
No, I think she should have waited though. You know, in our generation, we don't remember things very easily. So you said something. No, I want to stand up. I need to stand up to address him. First of all, I will start by saying apologies. But however, there is a gap. And that gap is from your broker. That's where I will start from. The company in question you mentioned NIA, led by your friend, okay, that you were waiting to ambush here, has expelled them. Am I correct? Yes. Because they were not doing well. The regulator has also, good link. Regulator has also cancelled license. Now, the position of the broker is such that at the beginning of each year, he will appraise my firm, appraise his own, appraise all of the market participants, and rank all of us. And therefore, when your business comes, he knows where to push it based on that ranking. Not based on, I know somebody working there. Not based on, Paraquat. All right? When that is done, you won't get the result you got. Do you understand? You won't get the result you got. Now, so what has happened has happened. But I also expected that when he got to that point, he would have also done something if I was in his shoes, that's the broker, because from what you have narrated, he has earned so much from you. I'll raise the check and give you the formula and save all of us that stress. I will do that. Like I said, it's about looking for reason to pay, not for reason not to pay. Now, when he said if you go through a broker, and I'll be very, very clear, he works with Skip, since you mentioned him, and I'm sure you know where he works. I had a broker in this market whose claim I also turned down. And she calls me, Jim, it's because of you. If not, I would not have called, I would have written. I say, okay, madam, what is the problem? If I was Skip, would you have turned down this claim? I said, yes, ma. And no, ma. She said, you have started. I said, what is the problem? I said, Skip gives me close to 2 billion in premium annually. And so if they have a claim that is on the borderline, I will look at it differently. Do I pay their claim of 4 million or lose the 2 billion? But madam, total of money you've given me in the last 5 years is 40 million. And I've checked your claim ratio. You've collected 60 million. Do you understand? So there are times when you have borderline cases and the broker brings his strength to bear on that particular business. Not because, legally speaking, you have a claim that is genuine or right. You suffered a loss, but it's not covered. But he can come and say, all right, sit down. Let's look at this thing and give it a human face, commercial consideration, ex gratia, whatever we call it. And then we will pay. Based on the volume he is doing with us. Those are part of the things that he brings to the table when you go through a broker. You understand me? Now, the other thing you mentioned is that insurance is not a serious business. It's serious, so it's very serious, so because it has trained 5 children for me. Anything that trained 5 children for me is very serious. You understand? But however, I do want to agree with you to some extent. Like I said, I'm a technician, not a practitioner. So, yes, we must go beyond one thing to blow our trumpet. Trumpet we must blow. But we must also go beyond that to ensure that erring institutions amongst us are whipped into line. We can't go out the marketing each other. That's a different ball game. But when we are in a room and the door is closed, we must look at each other and say, you are the one creating bad name for us. You are the one creating bad name for us. In the school, madam is in charge of, Abi, in your charter, it says somebody's certificate can be withdrawn. Yeah. You have not withdrawn any that I know of. Why, madam? Because it's part of the discipline. It's part of the discipline we're talking about.
It was last year we got to know that we needed the approval of the Attorney General of the Federation. We wrote to the Attorney General of the Federation October last year. Till now, we've not gotten the approval. We're still on it. It's part
They
of
will
what I
never
was
get-
reviewing. No, they will, because we've gotten to the final draft. The last letter we received from them about 2 weeks ago was, this is the final thing. We should confirm that that is what we want before they take it to the AGF for signing. So I never knew it was that difficult until we had that experience that we needed to act. So it's not as if, and it's not only us, even ICANN had to go to because I went to ICANN to ask them, are you also facing this? They said they got their own from the Clinical Justice, Minister of Justice. There's that clause there. And the reason is to make sure that you don't exactly just withdraw. I don't like this person, I toasted this person, and you just start withdrawing people's certificates. And now let a third party look at it and be sure that that's the right thing to do. Thank you.
So that's part of the discipline that we need in the market. So it's not just the company being liquidated, but the people who caused the problem in the company being sent out of the market. Thank you, sir.
Okay, no, let me, because Bayo is my friend. Well, I think on the behalf of the industry, which we are also privileged to be representing here, is to also say a big apology. You understand? And I think this conference will be one of the very first, which I will throw this question and I will see in discerning voices to say, hey, I'm a dissatisfied client. But the good thing about dissatisfaction is that it helps you to create a client experience. And that's what we should be vying for. So maybe after this conference, I will see you. And I think the 1 million naira is not totally lost. Because now that NICOM are taking over GoldLink, you know, we can see channel, we can see pursue that 1 million naira. And it's just that 1 million naira is nothing to you. You're a big man now. So well, you see, it's nothing. 1 million naira is less than $1,000. And so, but we'll see how we can pursue. Then in terms of not being serious, yes, like my friend Jim said, it's either here or there. The truth is that if there is any industry that this generation should look forward to joining, I think it's insurance. And what I'm saying so is that the telecom is almost saturated. I don't know whether media houses are saturated, but ours is totally a blue ocean industry with over 120 million Nigerians and less than, in terms of the working force, less than 1% of that working force are uninsured. So we need you to come, bring in the great brains, and try to charge us up to see how we can go to the next level and the next height. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would also like to apologize to the lady in glasses that we can't take your question at this time because we need to wrap up. Thank you so much for being good listeners. And also, please put your hands together for my panelists. Thank you so much for being good panelists as well.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for that brilliant session. For photographs, I'll be welcoming Mrs. Abimbola Tiamiyu, the Registrar and CEO of Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria. Thank you. Thank you very much once again, panelists and our moderator. Just like was said, until you are in, you can't be sure. So before we close, I'd like us to respond with something. When I say insure today, you say assure tomorrow. Insure today. Everybody seems tired. I know we're tired, but we're closing now. Insure today. Thank you very much, every one of you, for being such a spectacular audience. You stayed till the end. Thank you very much. I hope that we all leave here with a better understanding, better education on insurance, and let's continue to preach the message of insurance for the growth and development of Nigeria's economy. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my name is Elizabeth Musa, and it's been such a delight being your MC for this ceremony, for this event. Thank you very much for being an amazing audience once again. I hope that you go home safely or go back to your offices safely. And please don't forget to network. Once again, a round of applause for yourselves, please. Thank you very much. And please don't forget to network and meet with new people. Thank you.